Hello, darlings and dears of the internet, and welcome to another episode of DieRole that I don't know what number it is. Yay!
Yay!
Hello,
Hello.
Cool babies. Cool babies.
That's the McElroy thing. That's their shtick. We cannot.
Cool babies.
They will sue us, obviously. They have copyright on cool babies.
Mm-hmm.
Of course
Of
they
all
do.
kinds.
None of us can be cool babies.
Cool Babies Inc. is already taken, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, adventurers. Who remembers what from last session, and who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right.
So Nick's favorite plaything, the clockmaker,
Mm-hmm.
the gnome man. We exploded his dead body.
This is true.
To cover up what happened to the clockmaker shop.
Mm-hmm. How precisely did he actually die, though? Because there's a hyper-specific circumstance that involved digging up underneath some metal plating,
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
a flaming skull.
There was just a bunch of glass in his eyes, I'm pretty sure.
That didn't kill him,
stands out to me
though.
the most.
He survived that.
Yeah, but it contributed to the death. In small ways.
In small ways.
In tiny ways.
In addition to this, Pam, you also, when you explored that beneath the metal plating, you found this weird room, right?
Yes, it was a weird room, and it was very evil energy. Big evil energy.
The biggest.
The biggest. I did not want to stay there, but I also wanted to explore it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so hopefully we can go back to that, but what else happened, you guys?
Yeah, boys, what else happened?
A lot of stuff happened.
How about we go with you, Vincent, Mr. Mask Vigilante Man, doing your whole do.
After we blew up the clockmaker's shop, well, kind of blew it up, we saw that the entire city was being destroyed by the worms, the purple worms, that were digging up underneath the different buildings and creating giant sinkholes throughout the city. So, me being half cartographer, half vigilante lion man, I ran out and started trying to save people, and then everyone else joined and helped to save people out of a building that was burning and also falling underground, I think.
Yes. So the purple worms had been traveling beneath the city and had broken apart the foundation of the structure that building had been set upon. And the entire building, basically, if you're looking at it straight on from the street, tilted the entire bottom left corner into the ground. So is at like a near 45-degree angle from where it had previously been parallel to the ground. And you all went in there and saved as many people as you could. Drowning men, people trapped behind gas fires, people in medical beds, and Ashoka, you saved a little baby. You saved a little fur-bowled baby boy.
Unfortunately.
After this all happened, Darius, you went back outside and immediately got spotted as you were flying outside by a woman in a blue coat and shaved head with a darker skin and kind of piercing eyes, and she was immediately like, I need to talk to you, but not now, because things are falling apart now, but tomorrow. Find me, talk to me. Marwin's. And then Ashoka turned into an old man, and you guys realized that the sun was starting to set, and you didn't want to be late to your meeting with Sykes, a representative of the Inheritor of the Wilds.
I still don't remember where Morrowinds is.
Did I leave anything else out, or does anybody want to bring up something they remember that is important for them to consider currently?
I think Ashoka may or may not have completely straight up murdered that kid's dad.
I did.
And that's pretty important, at least to Vincent/Harrison, because he's gonna remember that.
Okay, well you can go back in there, find his body, and bury him then. If you feel so sad about it.
We shall see.
There's something that kind of interested me. I'm not
Yes.
sure. I don't know if you brought it up, but like the old man that I saved. Did you bring that up already?
I brought up that someone had been saved who was a medical patient, but yes, the old man.
And I don't know. It interested me that he kept saying river,
Uh-huh.
but it probably means nothing. But it's an interesting side story to me. So.
Well, if you took note of it, it must be interesting because that's how this works.
Okay. Well then.
You sound so self-satisfied with that.
Always.
All right. With all this weighing on your minds, the refresh, the day after tomorrow, and your meeting ahead of you is where we find ourselves now as you are all walking through the city. What are you doing?
We're going back to the tunnels, right? To go to the wilds.
Mm-hmm.
Is it raining?
It's not raining.
Oh, darn it. I was going to say, we're singing in the rain.
We can still do that. I can summon rain probably.
Can you actually?
I can like summon food and water, but I don't know if that counts as rain.
How are you guys going to get back to the tunnels? Are you going back through the clockmaker shop, or are you going to try to go back through the temple?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like through the temple would take too long, but we could see if Olron is still there.
And as far as we know, it closed behind us when we were in the temple.
That's true.
But we also should see if Alron's okay, because we've been gone for a really long time.
How long do we have until our meeting?
The sun is currently in the process of setting, and he said to meet him at nightfall, so you would guess maybe tops 45 minutes, an hour. Not a lot of time.
Alright.
So let's just go back through the clock shop,
Yeah.
pick up our attendees, wheel the cart to where we're supposed to go, and meet this guy Sykes.
Yeah.
Let's do it quickly.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys make your way back to the clock shop, still left unattended as people are currently too preoccupied with the rest of the city falling apart to notice one clock shop with a broken door.
I mean, we're heroes. No big deal. Nobody has to know. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're also wanted fugitives.
Are any of you trying to be stealthy as you make your way through this?
Um.
I'm going to. Because I'm suspicious that no one
Yeah.
tried to, like, arrest us
Mm-hmm.
when they know we're wanted fugitives, and we were
Mm-hmm.
around when a bunch of buildings were falling down.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling many of the people don't know we're wanted fugitives. Just the few with the blue
Inquisitors
suits.
should, because they're
The
like the
Inquisitors
authority.
should, yeah. But they
And there
weren't
was
there.
a bunch of them there. There was a bunch of them there, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought so too, but
I didn't see any. They don't wear blue suits, right? Do they wear black suits? Do they wear blue suits?
Would anyone care to roll a general intelligence or history check to try and determine what each of the groups of people were who were standing in front of the building as you
Can I
make your
take
way?
back my stealth check? Can I take it back? I guess that's a no. Oh, good job, Darius.
nice.
Okay, so Vincent is being stealthy. Pam is unwittingly drawing attention to herself in the street.
No.
But luckily, the people on the street don't seem to be paying too much attention because of the chaos. It actually seems a little bit more of a ghost town, as though people have retreated more so into their homes, kind of refusing to admit that what's happening is happening, or rushing out to try to attend to the different parts of the city that have started to fall apart. Okay. Ashoka, do you want to make an intelligence check to try and understand what was happening, or are you off in Ahab land?
Is he still Ahab?
He is still an old man, yes.
Trying to find the whale.
Yes.
Okay, so, Pam and Darius, you're able to tell, Pam, what you're able to tell is that these are clearly three different groups. The blue-suited people have the similar, basically, emblems that you've seen on Bushian before, so you know that they are part of the Inquisitors. And you recognize that the, people in the red suits, the only other person that you've seen wear a kind of deep, kind of blood red suit dyed like that was, Bruno, the warden. So you assume they must be some other kinds of enforcers or something. You're not sure. You hadn't seen anyone other than Bruno wearing that, so you're not quite sure what's up. The black people in black clothes, you're not quite sure what to make of because there were a lot more of them than anybody else. Darius, you realize that these group were the Inquisitors, these enforcers like Bruno, and that the people in black clothes were like black plain clothes or something similar to what Vincent kind of wears, or something similar to what you've seen different agents from Excelsior wear before.
No.
Oh no.
Keep in mind, the building that collapsed this time was directly to the left of the Excelsior Guild Hall. So it was either Excelsior helping out their neighbors, or they'd been contracted by the Inquisitors and Wardens for a brief time in order to help, or a mix of the two. Or something more sinister, you don't know. You don't know. You just know that these are the three groups.
Well, I should know
Why?
because I got a 20.
Yes, you know that they're from Excelsior, which Pam does not know.
Okay, Pam, they're from Excelsior.
Wait, what? How do you know?
I know because I rolled a 20.
I'm like, what?
Could it be the Knights Templar?
All right. So you all make your way. Is there anything else you guys wish to discuss with each other as you make your way through the tunnels? Otherwise, we can just cut to nightfall.
Is there
Let's
anyone
cut to
following us?
nightfall.
What, Vincent?
Is there anyone following us?
Make a perception check.
Good question. Can I
Anyone?
also make a perception check?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, thank you, because I probably will not do well. Oh wait, I did well.
That's
Yay.
awesome.
Okay. Pam and Darius, you don't really notice anything. Vincent, you notice for a couple of blocks there seem to be two smaller figures kind of following you for a little bit, but then after you move closer towards the temple, they drop away.
Okay.
We're not going to the temple.
As you move closer to the clockmaker shop in order to go to the temple, they drop away.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
All right. So you all make your way back through the clockmaker shop, still left open for you, and you push your way through the broken door. You find the now kind of festering smell of the well, no, they're not dead. It's fine. The gnomish
I'm
man
sure.
does not smell good in his seat where he's been propped up. But you move past him, you move back into the tunnels, you push the cart back along to the puzzle room, back to the northern hallway that leads you back to the Temple of Melora, and at this time, as you're pushing your way through, you can feel, just from the slight openings, from whatever this temple is from before, there's like a slight chill coming back in, as though there's cooler night air coming in now. You're at the base of the
Well, I
staircase.
sure hope it's cooler outside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the base of the staircase in this northern hallway when you realize you still have a cart with some unconscious folks on it and you're about to go talk to some people that you maybe want to trust you. What would you like to do?
Well, they work for the city, so we can use them as leverage or proof that we're on their side.
Oh my god. We can give them to the dude.
Am I wrong?
You're not actually. That's a good idea.
I mean, maybe we shouldn't do that, but
I mean, we could see how far this guy's willing to go if we do present these people to him.
yeah.
But that seems risky.
Also, I feel like we spared their lives for a reason, so we shouldn't just, like, give them away.
Yeah. True.
Alright, so what would you all like to do? What are you going to do to prepare before you head up to this meeting?
Maybe hide the bodies?
I can stay back with the cart, and you can tell Sykes that I'm just, like, watching our trail, make sure no one followed us or anything.
I mean, you and I could just go, and then Darius and Ashoka could stay, since it was originally you and I.
That's true.
Because he might not trust us if we bring random people all of a sudden.
That's true, but he's bringing more people too, I think. I think he mentioned that.
We could just shove the bodies into one of the closets, into the dice closet, for instance.
That's true. We could do that.
I'm just gonna do that.
Okay. They
And then
might
we
know
go-
how to get out from the other side.
Or the one to the Underdark.
But then we'd probably lose them.
Yeah.
Well, I think we know where it goes.
True.
All right.
What's the plan,
Alright,
guys?
I'm just
Closet it
shoving
is. All right. Cool.
I'm shoving them into the dice closet currently.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm still on my flying carpet though.
you're still on the
Question
flying
for the
cart.
DM. Question for the DM.
Yes,
Does this thing have juice, or does it just last forever?
it just goes.
Amazing!
Mm-hmm.
Does it have juice as in it has cup holders?
You can make an Oliver roll if you want to give the flying carpet cup holders, but other than that, no, it does not.
No! Leave my
I
flying
feel like
carpet
that's
alone.
worth making an Oliver roll.
All right, Pam. So you, with the help of Vincent, I assume, are stuffing the bodies into the dice closet. They fall in and sit properly, kind of breathing against either of the walls along the sides.
Good.
Any other preparations you all would wish to make before you enter into this chamber? Also, who all is entering into this meeting?
Darius, Ashoka, are you guys coming?
Yeah.
Wait, did we
Yeah.
close the dice closet door behind them?
A good
And
question.
also,
Yes.
should we leave it open to show them that we trust them?
No. We don't trust them. Do you
I mean,
trust them?
One of them stabbed
I want them to
Darius.
trust us. And that's
I don't-
not. If you don't show trust towards someone, they're not going to show trust back towards you.
That's true.
That little booger stabbed me in the shoulder. I'm
Yeah.
not going to
That's
trust him.
also true.
Okay, door closed.
Alright.
Okay, so you...
Do you guys think that we should like put leaves in our hair or something to show them that we're friendly to the wilds? Should we just braid, our hair and put flowers
Did
in
Sykes
them?
have leaves in his hair?
You know,
Did Sykes even have hair?
we have to be as much like them as possible.
Sykes did have hair.
Did he have leaves in his hair?
Please say yes.
You don't recall leaves. His armor was made out of various, skins and some, heavy barks, that kind of a thing, but you didn't see leaves in his hair. Also, Darius, I believe that, the background noise of the row is leaking through your microphone.
Sorry.
Thank you. Alright. And, not that it's works still, but I don't want us to get copyright stricken.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just gonna make my way through. Huh?
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, the door is still open where you left it.
Can I make a perception check to see if anything else has changed while we've been gone?
Sure, please do so. Is this as you're coming up the staircase into the bottom of the temple?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty immediate, the kind of change. There is a cooler night air immediately as you exit out from the underground in this area, and as you start to slowly walk up the staircase, you can see that in the small amount of time that has passed since Sykes has been here, he and the other inheritors have helped to return part of this temple to its former glory, but it's definitely changed from just a religious place of gathering to a little bit of a war room. And you can immediately kind of see what you can see as you're coming up from underneath the ground. Is you can see that the different places that have previously been marred by cracks in the walls or broken windows are now covered in this kind of thick, beautiful vinage that's holding the thing up more than it was previously down before. And before, you guys are kind of coming up behind a general kind of pulpit area. The pulpit has been more or less removed, and as you're coming up now, you can see that this area has been sectioned off as an entrance, maybe specifically for you guys, or just because they know there's a tunnel there now. And coming up from it, you can see this kind of long stone oval table in the center, which, are you trying to be stealthy as you're coming up? Or...
No. I'm not, because he knows we're coming.
Mm-hmm. As a couple of the figures in the chamber see you enter, this kind of oval stone table in the center that has different kind of scratches and markings on it, as you can see two people leaning over, a third off to the side. The table itself starts to kind of descend back into the ground. Where there had once been like empty rows of places that would have once been filled with flowers, almost like pews, but kneeling on the ground with kind of just scratches in the dirt. Now there's all kinds of different like actual growing gardens. You can see that somehow in the time since you've left, there have become like a little like sections of what look like healthy vegetables, and then at the very back of the temple, through the broken windows that led out into the wilds that had just been kind of previously jagged, and I can remind you what they looked like because I had that as an image.
Yeah.
What had previously looked like this now reminds you something a touch more akin to the way that Maud's house looked. And there are these massive flowers coming through the these massive flowers coming through the windows with these really dense petals, where each of the petals looks like it's like from the inside of the flower out is kind of tracking the sky throughout the course of a day. So at the very center, it's this deep dark blue, almost black, and then it changes slowly, a kind of ombre effect, out to this kind of like very light pinks and yellows and all sorts of things. And there's kind of, you can look up in the temple as well and see that part of the upper areas have been reconstructed as well. You can see that there's like more people bustling about up top, kind of sitting, a couple watching you in this like almost like the rafters above a stage, but in a kind of circle around the way that this temple is built. As you all come up, you can also see, as I said, the three individuals around the now descending stone table, where you can more or less gather that they were planning something. You can see Sykes there, along with a much taller, ganglier figure with kind of a loose, dirty robes and a kind of weird belt around her middle, and a much stockier, similarly tall, both furbolgs, but this other one is a man, and he has a large axe strapped to his like calf and thigh, and he kind of crosses his arms as you come in, and Sykes sees you all and kind of gives you a little bit of a head nod of respect and understanding as you come in and says, I see you've made it. I forgot what voice I did for him, but I see you've made it.
Yep. I like what you've done with the place.
Thank you. I suppose you can see now why we needed it back, as it were.
Before I say anything, can I use my divine sense?
Sure, go for it.
Yes.
So, undead, good and evil, hallow. Nobody is celestial, fiend, or undead in this room. Any being's presence you sense. This place still holds. This is still a consecrated place, and that feeling has been somewhat revitalized. Even though it's more of a war room now than it was a temple before, just the energy that has been put back into it is like helping it to remember itself somewhat. So this place is consecrated, and then any being. Yeah, that's the most powerful sense that you get. On the kind of lingering, it's only 60 feet of range, right? Anything beyond that is nothing clicks.
Okay. So I don't get any kind of sense from the three people?
Oh, like their moral standing? They are
strong, evil, or powerful good at all?
The one with the belt, the woman, has a slightly more good, well, strong, good, or evil. You get somewhat more gray from the two guys, and then the lady's a little bit towards the lighter side.
Okay.
Do they look familiar to us at all?
Familiar in the sense that you've seen furbolgs before, but not familiar in the sense that you recognize them at all. So they're basically like these. The woman is this kind of. They're both just generally kind of bigger, tall, fur-covered, kind of a like light yellow-brown fur with these long, kind of drooping ears, almost like a cow, similar to the man as well, though he's kind of like denser. You know those bodybuilder types who look like they're too much person stuffed in skin? He looks a little bit like that,
Yes.
but with a layer of fur on top.
Okay.
And one of his ears has been like notched.
Okay.
So the other two, the woman steps forward and kind of smiles down at you and says, "Hello, it's come to my understanding that we are to have a discussion. Isn't that right, Sykes?" "That in fact is." And then the third person from the side jerks his head towards the rest of you and says, "Go on then, introduce yourselves. Don't be rude."
I'm Vincent, and I kind of give a nod.
He nods back. "I'm Errol."
Arrow? Thank you.
Errol.
I'm Pam. Pam.
He nods at you and then looks to Darius and Shoka.
I also look to Darius and Ashoka.
My name is Darius.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the magical
Pleased to
music
meet you.
starts when he speaks.
You as well. And that's my phone for some reason. And Ashoka, did you introduce yourself?
I have.
That's.
I
This
have
is
Ashoka. Yes, I recall him from earlier. He looks different. Why is that?
The whale.
The whale. You've been at the sea.
Yeah.
It's been such
He
a
does
short.
this sometimes.
He kind of has, yeah. I think he might be, at this age, he's a little demented.
Yeah. A little bit.
Oh, but we must respect our elders. She kind of approaches Ashoka and gives a little bit more of like a bow and says, "Hello there, Ashoka Ahab. It's lovely to make your acquaintance."
Ashoka just kind of turns away and walks somewhere else.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Ahab, where are you going?
He's not all there, if you know what I mean. He's kind of senile.
Ashoka, do you want to make a nature check to figure out what kind of flowers these are? If you're going off somewhere else, I assume it's to look at flowers.
Oh, of course.
These are some kind of a hybrid species that you recall being somewhere in the faintest back trickles of your mind. You recall them being described to you by Oliver many years ago as just some kind of a sunrise sunset blossom. And then Veronica had made fun of him for accidentally naming something after a Barbra Streisand song for about 2 years.
He remembers this in his Ahab state?
Vaguely.
Wow.
This isn't important.
You hold your hand up to one of them, and the size of one of the petals goes from the base of your wrist to the tip of your middle finger. These are massive flowers.
Wow.
Anyway, Thega turns back to you and bows down to the rest of you. Says, "I am Thega. I am a leader here among us. It is lovely to make your acquaintance. You already know Sykes and Errol." So, what is it that you... Yes.
May I ask you a question?
Of course.
I see that everybody wants this prophecy to come true about the war. Have you guys, I don't know how to ask this politely. Could you tell me, did you guys have anything to do with the collapse of the structures inside the city today? By releasing worms under the city?
Yeah, for the past few days.
She kind of tilts her head towards you. Make a persuasion check, Darius.
Can I give him advantage?
Uh, you just said sure. With advantage to take it again and take the higher.
Well,
I assure you, Darius, it is not war that we are truly after, it is respect. That is all. If the prophecy is made to be true because of it, then perhaps that was all just the infinite wisdom of our mother, but if it can be helped and the city can be made to listen, I don't see a problem with that. And you can kind of see Sykes and Errol both like shifting on their feet behind her, like, yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm to take from that they didn't put them there, but if they're there and it destroys the city, so what?
yeah.
She shrugs. Can you help the will of the gods?
Yes.
Well, maybe you can, Pam, but don't speak for the rest of us.
You speak for the will of gods.
I kind of just like shrink a little bit.
It's all
Yeah.
right, dear.
Okay. I'm kind of like looking up at her all starry-eyed.
She's like 7'8".
Checks out.
We have been inside the temple for the past 2 or 3 days, and we have explored various passages throughout the temple. Where we saw,
fastidious of you.
thank you. We have determined that there's a cursed paladin in one tower, and in another tower, or another door passageway, is an array of tapestries or reliefs describing the history between Arathis and Melora.
Yes, we know the history of our own goddess, so...
Well, thank you. Pardon me, I'm just trying to make things work. I'm trying to figure things out myself. I'm being a man of knowledge or quest for knowledge. Who cursed the paladin?
They all kind of look at each other. Sykes kind of steps forward. We know not this paladin of which you speak. Could
It was a paladin of Arathis. Is that correct, DM?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking you. It's the paladin of Arathis, right?
We
That went
know...
out into the spine and chopped down a tree.
We only know that the spine of Melora was shattered along with her heart, not how Arathis did it. You say there is a paladin?
Yes.
Hmm.
There was a paladin who chopped down the tree that started the whole thing. And we're trying to find out who cursed him and betrayed him and told him to chop down the tree. It could have been a paladin of Melora. Could have been a paladin of Arathis. I don't know which.
I think not, Melora. Paladins are meant to be instruments of their god's will. And as she says this, Pam, her eyes kind of like skate over you and then look away politely.
Okay, well, then if you can't help me, but I have more story to tell you.
While he's saying this, kind of lean over to Vincent real quick and ask him, under my breath, should we talk to them about the bombs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shouldn't tell them quite yet. I think we want to know what they're planning first.
It's too late. I'm going to talk to them.
No, no!
That's what I'm
I
saying.
should have asked Darius!
Okay, we want to know what you're planning. Why are you guys here? What brings you to the temple?
Errol steps forward. It's no base of operations for us, so we can plan for the refresh. Listen. We've been living under the, destructive forces of Portwind a bit too long, if you ask me. And, It's time we did something about it. Making entrance at the refresh is about. And then Sykes comes over, puts his hand on his chest, and like gives him a look of "shut up" before he steps forward and says, "Perhaps if you understood a bit more of our history, you would see a bit more of our side. But pray tell, why convince me as to why we need you on our side anyway. Make a case for yourselves. We don't need to make one
First
for
of
you."
all, we have information that could be very detrimental to whatever your plan may be, or just earning respect from the wilds.
I'm listening.
Also, we're a pretty strong bunch. You haven't seen it firsthand, but we've taken on a lot of large threats and come out successful every time.
That man aged 60 years in one day. He looks over at
Isn't that
Ashoka.
magical
just-
to you?
That shows how special we are.
Make a persuasion check, Vincent.
I will try.
Nice.
Not too bad.
If you are saying that you are strong, and you are saying that you have information, then if we show you the truth of what has been done to these wilds, if we can convince you, will you join us? Will you see that Portwind is of its own destruction, and help us here?
We'll definitely greatly consider it. We're here to learn first and foremost, and as much of your history that you can tell us, that would be much appreciated.
He kind of steps back and glances at Thega and Errol. And then he kind of nods and goes, "Alright." And he whistles shortly. And then you watch as the people who had been kind of sitting up on the rafters, one of whom lazily had a crossbow pointed in your direction and who at the whistle drops it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He glances up and says to them, "Get Bunsen. He's on watch while we're out." And then there's some shuffling as a few moments later a younger dwarven man kind of tumbles from the rafters somewhere off to the side. It looks like there's a kind of ladder above the hole that you guys came out of, so you have to kind of look over to see it. But he stumbles off as the three of them start to lead you to the exit of the temple. Alright. So, Thega steps up first, and she kind of collects the others around her and then kind of indicates for you all to follow. Is anybody trying to stay behind, or is everybody just gonna go along with their guided tour for a little bit?
I'll go with their guided tour. I'll kind of go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of
Well,
lean back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to just kind of.
I would like to introduce the two guys in the cart and say, this is what we know. You can tell us what you know. This is what we know. I hope my friends agree with me, but I'm going to go. These two gentlemen here, these two gentlemen in this cart, we obtained them.
Hold on.
They were transporting. Hello?
The two guys in the cart, they shoved into the dice closet and locked it. Are you going back to get them from the dice closet?
No, I forgot. Sorry.
That's alright. So, is everybody stepping along with Thega as Sykes and Errol follow behind her out into the wilds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
As you're all moving, she's leading you down a very specific path, and it's hard for you to see. Everybody make perception checks so that, if necessary, you can try to find your way back through this later. Okay. Perception, or nature, or survival. I will allow the highest of whatever of these.
Can I kind of draw out a map of where?
If you make a decent enough perception, survival, or nature check, yes, you may.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's definitely nighttime as you guys step outside into the... Okay, yeah. This is some dense and thick forests. Ashoka grabs the whaleless looking flowers. It is. She leads you, all of you, into a very dense and thick-looking forest, kind of stepping over in between overgrown patches, different areas, places where trees have fallen and trees have grown over, trees have fallen, and wild bushes kind of snake their way along the ground, and you can hear all kinds of beautiful sounds all around you. Some that are interesting, some that are kind of scary, some that are very strange. And you're walking for a decent amount of times. A decent amount of time is passing as you're having to make your way through this forest. Uh, wow, no one got above a 10. Okay. But you're
You guys
just...
are gonna bring us back to the temple, right? We're not very good in the woods.
And Thega kind of just looks back at you and laughs and kind of, oh, of course.
Can I make an insight check on that?
Yeah, go ahead. She seems to want to bring you back to the temple.
Okay.
Similar to before, the other two guys grumble. As you make your way forward, you're definitely hit by the more evening breezes and kind of smells that overtake you and kind of cool you off, and it's already calmer after everything that you guys have been through today, everything you guys have been through in the past few days underneath the temple. And ever so, after a little bit of time, she leads you into what looks like she has to kind of peel back a long vining plant that is growing almost like a curtain in front of you, and then she kind of pulls apart one side of it and then gestures for Sykes to go pull apart the other side, and she says, "Please come in. We want you to see what it means to live and be a part of the wilds without hurting it." And she kind of gestures.
I follow. Or I go along with what she's saying.
I follow as well, but I'm still trying to stay behind a bit.
I follow too.
Ashoka?
Yeah, I'm following.
Be gentle, all of you. Don't hurt anything. And he kind of looks at Vincent.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
As you step in, you can kind of see, beneath the night sky, in the middle of this forest, there is this kind of expansive field or open space with grass lining every part of the ground. And you can see, just looking out and in, that the more that you look, the more life it is that you're seeing. You can see that off to the right there is this kind of massive structure that looks like it's entirely created off of trees that have fallen over time, at their time, just kind of hollowing out kind of a almost like a cave that had been extended past. It's as though the wilds had built itself around the people that have been living there, and you can see a large number of people with a small, very, very contained fire, kind of talking and sharing food and dancing around. You can look further in, and you can see, the further that you're looking, you can see these kind of open spaces in the ground that kind of swell up and lead down in, and you can see similar light coming from there. You can see also beyond that these rolling hills that continue on and up, and there's more of these places where there's one place that has what looks to be a massive tree trunk, maybe 30 feet in diameter or more, that has just been hollowed out with small doorways every maybe 10 or so feet, and each of them just has people, and then you can see from the different elevation change in this place that has fallen onto the sloped ground, kind of vine and rope ladders leading down, and you can see, in fact, see more, or you can see everybody make perception checks. Okay. 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 Y'all are just had an overwhelming day. Pam, did you make... Okay, that was your latest perception check. Okay, so... Ashoka, you are distracted.
Mm-hmm.
you are distracted, and it's because even
He's
though
old.
partially, it is even though it's for two reasons. Everything around you right now looks lovely and beautiful and truly like people are living in harmony with nature, but you can feel just as like where the grass of this forest brushes the tops of your feet in your monk sandals, you can feel some none too far distance away a kind of like deep kind of lurking pit of something that is like aching and flaking away in the forest itself. And that is distracting to you. And then as you start to try to rationalize it to yourself, you start to think that it must be a whale, but then there's a part of you that's still actually Ashoka that's like, no, wait, please. And it's you're very distracted.
We're all gonna die.
Pam, you can definitely see, you kind of are looking closer to where the first kind of fallen tree cave was that you guys saw. And as you're looking over, Pam kind of, or not Pam, gracious, Thega kind of approaches you in the back of the group and kind of whispers to you, distracting your attention just a touch, and says, you know, there are rumors that further out into these wilds, there are entrances into the well and true Fey. The Feywilds. I wouldn't be surprised. These wilds would
You've
take...
never been that far?
Not myself, personally. I've always been... Not that I haven't dreamed of it, of course. It would take any one person, perhaps a month of traveling every day to walk across the entirety of these wilds. If they could, that is. If they
Wow.
did not get devoured by beasts somewhere along the way. Vincent, as part of your perception check, what you see further and further off, the denser that the trees are growing, you can start to squint at different areas where a lot of the trees are still kind of thriving around some of the younger ones, and you can look and see these lithe figures kind of talking and moving and dancing with little children, and you recognize that's straight up, that's dryads, like talking to little kids that are like Furbolg and half-elf and dwarven and half-orc and not, it's like, and that kind of strikes you specifically as odd because you remember the like tension that there still is between you guys and dryads. So
Wait, what are dryads again?
tree people know me as a dryad.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stupid, but okay.
No,
cool.
you're not. It's fine. And she kind of smiles and then jerks her head forward and says, "Come, follow me." And then she begins to confidently make her way across the rest of the camp, with Errol and Sykes kind of following you from behind now to make sure you guys are going where you ought to go. And ever so slowly, it takes a little bit more time, but it's clearly something that's meant to be within vicinity of the small community that has been forged out of all things that the land has given and has fallen naturally rather than stuff that has been taken. And as she continues to lead you on, it's a much shorter walk this time in proximity to this place. She leads you out into a not as clear space, but you're looking forward and you can see that there is enough of a break in the trees for moonlight to pour through, and as she kind of leads you there, you can see this kind of perfectly still, reflective, dark, like a mirror inlaid in the ground, this massive crystalline kind of pool, just a grove or two away from the rest of this community. And she turns to Rusty and says, kind of holds up a finger to her lips and says, "Now the fish seem to be sleeping, but this is where on occasion we get food, where some of us bathe. It's fed from parts of the ocean that filter through naturally occurring grooves underneath the soil, and then it kind of..." She kind of smiles to herself and then looks up to the moon and says, "It's as though the Wild Mother herself made it for us. It's as though the beating heart of the wilds purifies it enough for us to drink." She kind of looks at you as though she's expecting you to have some kind of a great revelation by this point.
I just kind of look at it and I'm like, it's beautiful.
It's almost a little bit scary because it looks like you could fall right into the night sky.
Ooh.
Can
Can I try to draw it?
Um,
Can I try to drink some?
yes to both. Go ahead and you make a check with your cartographer's kit, or just a dexterity check to try and draw it. Pam, how are you going to try to drink this? Just dip your hand in?
Yeah. But I like hover my hands above it and I kind of look at her and I'm just like, may I?
She smiles widely and says, by all means. And again, you hear the other two grumble.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Is this space guarded at all costs, at all times?
You see Thaga's face kind of drop into a little bit of discontent, and the boys kind of squinting at you. What do you mean guarded?
Have you seen city fellers out here at any time?
Not if they know it's good for them. Errol interrupts.
That's not my point. My point is, if you have not guarded it at all times, this would seem to be the perfect place where the city fellers are planning to drop the bombs.
We haven't told them about.
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
Can I just drink it already?
Yes, she gave you permission to drink it. You can take a drink with it. Vincent,
drinking.
you are successfully drawing, and Pam, you like splutter out your nose when you hear Darius say that, and Vincent, you're like, what was a perfect drawing of this lake now is just kind of with like a big line through parts of the moon as it's reflected when you hear Darius say this.
Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to do a spit take or ruin your game. This is what I wanted to tell the people to begin with.
What's a
Yes.
bomb?
A bomb is something that is non-natural. Well, I guess sometimes there are steam bombs and stuff like that. But the city, we have found plans by the city. Let me put it back. We have found plans of some people in the city. We're going to place bombs in the wild to start the war, to start the prophecy. We have thwarted. How many did we thwart? 2 bombs or 3 bombs?
2.
2 bombs and a bunch of war machines. But there's still more bombs out there with war machines, and that we haven't found them yet. And I wanted to tell you and let you know to keep your eyes alert. This seems like a place where they would, if they could come mess us up, it would be the beginning of the end for the wild. And
That was the information we had for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they even know about this place, but if they did, I imagine they're scheming enough to place bombs out here. It might be a place to do it. But that's just the information that we had. I wanted you to know that.
I'm kind of like coughing on my water.
You see, Thega kind of holds up a hand to get you to stop, and then she says, thank you for the information. Just give us a moment, if you would. And then she pulls Sykes aside, and Errol stays kind of stationed by the tree line watching you guys with his hand resting just near his hip. As she goes
Y'all are clear on what bombs are, though, right?
Not really.
Okay.
They
They're
explode.
explosives. Yeah.
What's an
They
explosion?
destroy a lot of stuff.
You don't know what
I've seen like
You
an
know, like when
earthquake.
there's a sudden burst of fire in one spot, just all at once, and it's massive.
Like a fireball.
Sure.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Like a giant fireball that, yeah.
Which raises a good question. How come the people that built the bombs know what a bomb is, but nobody else around here seems to know what a bomb is?
Well, I think they invented bombs, is what it sounds like.
guess. Seems pretty easy. But I guess, yeah, I guess the bomb
Have you
maker.
invented a bomb before? Huh?
No.
I don't think it's that easy to just make something like that.
Vincent, you're embarrassing me in front of Thega.
I'm kidding.
Thega is not currently there.
Oh. Good, never mind that.
Thega stepped off behind some more trees to talk with Sykes for a moment. At the moment, you guys have a second to yourselves while this discussion is happening. Pam, the water is cool and fresh and like a little bit sweet, but it's good. It's water.
I'm gonna release Jacques from my poncho so he can get some water.
He immediately dives down into it and starts kicking around.
No!
What?
You know what? I'm not gonna stop it. He's the most natural creature here.
Is that a floating dog with many eyes and a purple cloud?
It's not that many eyes.
I've never seen something like that before in my life. What did you do
He's
to
the
it?
most natural. I didn't do anything. He's the most natural creature you'll ever meet.
It's not dogs that look like that.
What happens? Okay, question for the DM. What happens to his cloud when he goes into the water?
It kind of fades and dissipates around him, making it look like a little purple lily pad for a second.
Because I don't ever want to see what his body looks like.
You have an ability to make him compress if you command him to, like on his character sheet.
Heck?
What the heck?
You
Exactly.
didn't look at that?
You compress him?
Oh, it is.
Anyway,
Wow.
roll a persuasion check so that he doesn't jump in after your dog, please.
Oh.
I would like to take a drink of the water.
You do so.
Hopefully it's
Nice.
it's nourishing and enriching and calming and healing and all that good stuff.
It is
Anybody?
clear, sweet water. Kind of cool.
Clear, sweet water, water.
He does not jump in after your dog.
water.
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody have well, let me ask. It's Errol right here, right?
It is Errol. Hello.
Whoa.
Was that intentional? That was just the accent.
Errol, should the water stay here or can I take some somehow?
It filters in through the ocean through the underground filtration system that is set. Well, not set up, but provided. So it will refill if you take a little bit. Yeah.
Does anybody have I mean, I had a flask when we started.
I have a water skin. I can put some in there.
Please do that.
I will do that.
Don't make a habit of it. But no.
Wait, what did you say?
Don't make a habit of it.
Oh, okay, jeez.
What, you got
I'm
a
gonna-
problem? As he starts
I-
at... Yes?
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say that as he starts to ask, what, you have a problem with the way y'all talk? Thega and Sykes come back out. And now Sykes is kind of stepping in front and says, we seem to have shown you enough about what we look like in peace now. He kind of looks out over all of you. I want all of you to roll basic charisma checks.
Okay.
I got you.
Oh,
He
wait.
loves me.
I'll just do it.
I can hear
I
you
also wanna-
considering doing the thing, Vincent.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I also want to kind of tell them more information about what's going on, like how many bombs are left, where they were kind of planning, like that they're
Yeah.
Okay.
the purpose of the bombs is to expand Portwind
Mhm.
into the wilds.
Mhm.
There's 3 that we know of, but we don't know where they've put them, and there's 2 that we've disabled.
Mhm.
Aren't
We
there,
were able
aren't
to
there
stop
4
them
more?
being delivered.
There were 6 in total.
4 more?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 more. There's 4 more that we don't know the location of, but we assume they'd kind of be near the outskirts of Portwind in the wilds.
Mhm.
And maybe somehow you can help us locate them?
Yeah, we want to disable them. That's one of our biggest priorities right now.
Disable them by putting them in Ahab's pants, which we can explain later. That's probably oversharing at this point. but-
Speaking of,
Yeah.
Ashoka, please roll a charisma check for me. So,
Sure.
do you know how we can disable these bombs that you're speaking of?
As far as we know, the best way we've figured out how to do that is to locate them somewhere that they won't harm anybody.
So you're not disabling them, you're just moving them.
Hey, if you have a way to disable them, then we're all for it. We're not exactly explosive disarming experts, but we're trying our best.
Do you have a plan?
We think we know of a safe place to store them.
Yeah.
It's closer than you think.
Alright, Sykes finishes kind of evaluating the rest of you and says, and kind of sighs and pinches his nose and says, "You have not yet earned our trust to... We are not here to share our plans, but we can show you that we are not only a people in the time of peace, but we have bases beyond what you have seen to come together in times of trouble as well." And then he starts to lead the way through the forest with Thega and Errol, following behind. And once again, you guys are walking for a decent amount of time, and it's getting later and later and kind of cooler and cooler. Not uncomfortably so, because it's typically kind of muggy in Portland, and the relief of the night air is pretty nice. Everyone once again roll nature, survival, or perception check to try and recall the pathway that he's making through the forest while you guys are... Yep.
Oh, I can perceive nothing today.
You guys are just gracious.
This is so funny.
We don't need to know where we're
Okay.
going. Okay,
Nice,
Darius.
thank you so much.
Dar-
You are so...
Darius, you can remember some of the basic indicators of the path that you took in between the peaceful area of the wilds, or at least one of them, and the area that Sykes is leading you to. And again, it's a decent amount of time as you guys are moving forward. And as you don't have to roll perception for this, just generally off in the distance, you hear this a faint echo of something so far away, but so loud it's kind of confusing. You hear this great... I cannot make animal sounds today. This great roar, the barest echo of it from somewhere far off, and you can see the leaves of the trees shake just a little bit with it. And Thega, who has fallen to the back of the group now that her portion of leading you guys through the wilds has come to a bit of an end. She kind of shivers and crosses her arms as you guys move forward.
Kind of nudge Pam, and I'm like, "Go comfort her."
Oh, what's his age? She's so big.
I don't know, just pat her on the back or something.
Oh,
Do I look
okay.
like the expert in comforting people?
Okay. I mean, no.
Exactly.
You only know how to comfort me, Vincent. Okay.
Pretty
I
much.
kinda just-
I'm killing is my expertise, so that's all I can say.
You're just... Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna shuffle my way towards her.
Okay. She allows this. And she's just kind of glancing up, concerned at the trees and everything that's going on, and kind of looking at the backs of Eris and Sykes and the rest of you, and she notices you as you approach, and she seems to kind of visibly try to calm herself down a little bit, and just kind of, "Oh, hello there, Pam."
How you doing?
Um,
You want to see my dog? I just hold Jaka.
oh, well, hello. What a charming little thing this is.
He really liked the water.
I can see that. And as you say that, Jacques, kind of in your hands, because you're kind of holding him around the cloud, he kind of does the dog wiggle and definitely gets water all over her.
Aw.
Oh, what a good boy. That's just his love juice.
Charming.
Wait, Vincent, can you hear all this?
Can I?
Make a
You're just
perception
giving
check.
commentary in the back. Do you want him to lick your face?
Roll
It's one of his most special abilities.
a persuasion check. You can hear Pam saying things, but you cannot hear what she's saying. You can tell that they're
I
talking.
hear love juice in the middle of a bunch of random mumbling. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
It'll make you feel better. Not that you were not feeling good. Not that I was like watching or any. I mean,
She pushes her face down towards Jacques and allows him to lick her nose, which is like slightly elongated and very pink at the end, and kind of a little bit like a. And then he kind of. And then you immediately pull him back because it was just the one lick she agreed to, and she stands back up. Thank you. It's not unnoticed. There is power in the wilds beyond what any of us understand, I believe and sometimes fear, but it sounds as though there is in the city as well, from what you and your friends have said.
yeah. We just actually got done rescuing a bunch of people. Not that we're not heroes or anything. I mean, we are heroes, but you know,
How noble. She kind of
they don't deserve anything that's going on. The people do.
None of us do, Pam, but it's where we are. You said you can influence your God's will.
Sometimes.
Care to share how you go about doing that? If this all is in some prophecy we don't agree with, understand, perhaps?
If I make them angry enough, they talk to me.
Sounds like a dangerous method. Do you make God's anger easily?
No, which makes it scarier.
Do you not wish you could talk to them without making them angry?
Sometimes.
Well, I suppose I shouldn't talk. I don't necessarily talk to gods at all. I just... She kind of, she pats at her belt for a second, and then she pulls out her hand, and you watch as a dense little, overly leafy, like, little cactus kind of grows. And then she kind of... I just do this. On larger scales, but... And then you watch... It's druidcraft. And as you guys pass by one of the trees, she kind of waits a second, and then kind of pushes it into the side of one that you see has like a similar kind of moss growing on it to what she just created, and she kind of melds it into what was already there as you guys continue moving. Yeah. Alright, so it is a decent amount of time. Do you want to say anything else to Thega before we switch to the next scene?
I mean, do you think that your god is angry?
I think my god is heartbroken. Which can mean angry, too.
What do you think about the other god?
I think I'm going to make a wisdom check for her is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, she seems very wise. Give her +5, please.
+5?
Yeah.
You just say that because you like her voice. I think that gods of any sort, well, I think that we are oftentimes than not dealing with the fallout between the gods' feelings towards each other more so than our feelings towards us, and I do not know if that is always fair to us. And I think the other goddess, as you put it, may have a better understanding of that than my own, but I suppose that is also rather blasphemous to say.
You still said it.
And I did. I cannot say, though. how can I speak ill of someone who created all of this? And she gestures to all of the wilds around her and kind of just smiles and puts her head down and keeps walking next to you.
I gotta say, it does not seem anything like the city. Much more peaceful.
You can say that again. Any other quick scenes anybody would like to have, or can we cut to the next spot?
Cut. We can cut.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right. As you guys push forward, you find yourselves in a similar spot, but as you're moving through the forest, the trees keep getting taller and taller and taller, and it's just when you think that they can't get any taller that you kind of burst through a thicket and find yourselves once again in an area that has been kind of cleared somewhat on the ground, and as you look, you can look up and up and up, and you see that there is where Sykes has been leading you as he pushes you off kind of forward into what looks like basically a series of overly dense tree houses that start at the top of the trees and go down and down and down and down, and on each level of these tree, not even necessarily houses, but this kind of community in a way that almost reminds you of the Nest, but it's different because it's not all winding around one tree. It's made out of an entire forest, or at least this section of it. Everybody make perception checks so you can see what you can see, because there's a lot going on here. This is far more populated than the area that you had seen before. Clearly the area that you had seen Go ahead and make perception checks before I talk too much.
What is
I'm
happening?
distracted by something.
Yeah. Okay, so Pam got 7, Vincent got -2, Darius got 15. Ashoka, do you care to perceive anything that's going on around you?
Ashoka! Ahab, there could be whales about.
Or more discontented land?
Forest whales.
Forest whales.
Forest whales. Oh.
Hold on, I'm gonna write that down.
Are those just bears?
Pardon?
Or forest
whales are
whales?
just bears.
What else could they be?
You never know.
Wow,
Ashoka
okay.
here? Can you hear us?
Forest whales.
Ashoka,
Ashoka!
I can roll one for him if he needs.
Yeah.
Oh, he just disappeared.
Uh-oh.
I rolled perception for him. He got very good. Okay,
Nice.
so Adarius and Ashoka, you can see that this is not
Wait.
just a... Yes?
Should we wait for him to come back? He disappeared from the voice chat.
Oh, from Discord. I thought you meant in Roll20.
No.
Ashoka, our good buddy.
Let me see if Ashoka messaged me on our sending stone.
You have an actual sending stone?
Yeah, you write little messages on it in the ink, and then you have to use the eye of the little glowing stone from the Temple of Arathis to view it on the opposite side. It's pretty cool.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know where he went.
That's weird.
Still shows him as being online.
Hmm.
Oh well.
Should I continue?
I say so.
Okay. All right. As you guys head in, Ashoka and Darius, you can see that this is definitively, if the last area was a place where those who needed to stay safe and those who were choosing to remain well and truly peaceful and not willing to take part in whatever this conflict is going to be, if that was the less dense populace there, this is fully where the rest of the people who are working either towards whatever plans the Inheritors of the Wilds have already been talking about, or something just working in general, they are here. You can still see people pulling, like, put together carts made out of leaves and sticks of wood and branches and hauling, like, dirt and stones in different areas on the ground level, and you can see higher and higher up, kind of on the... Ashoka's actually the one who's... Okay, sorry, I just made myself...
You are Ashoka now.
You can basically see... a much more populous, moving, and very much working group of people in a similar situation where they're still using whatever nature has given them rather than what they are taking. But as they are brushing about you, like almost as you guys are coming into the forest, a group of 4 young people in similar armor to what Sykes has kind of push past you and scatter out into the woods. You can see similarly in the treetops, people with like longbows and crossbows are out moving, looking for something. Ashoka sees up in some of the higher treetops up to the like far left. I see, understood. Darius, you can kind of see the general shapes, but you can see kind of what looks like they would almost look like the thing that you put out to attract a bear so it doesn't attack your camp food or where you put your camp food. It's like a large kind of net hanging from the tops of trees, and there appear to be a decent amount of them all hanging off of this one group of trees far up and to the left, right near some of these structures that are sitting up with all these people. And Ashoka is able to identify one of the people in there. However, he will learn that when he is here. And
Like he might be here? Hello?
Ashoka? It's alright.
Wow. Yeah.
He's a-habbing out right now. It's
Oh.
okay. Ashoka?
Oh, there we go. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Weird.
alright, no worries. Okay, so I will end this description with two last things. Darius, what you are able to see further off, closer to some of the structures at the bottom of the tree base, you can see one of the furbolgs that you saw before when you first entered into this side of the wilds with Iris and Olron, one of the people who like came out to meet you with crossbows, currently has their back turned and is talking to another furbolg that you are surprised to recognize because you recognize her as Darius, not as Ray, and you recognize the face of Xandra Neal, who is a part of the Guild of Guiding Light,
Oh,
I
snap.
forgot about her.
who is apparently very insistently talking to this other man who is not, who just seems to be kind of crossing his arms and staring at her. And Darius says, you notice this, Ashoka, you notice in these kind of hanging nets and cages up in the upper left-hand portion of these trees, amongst where all the rest of this building of what appears to be weaponry and armor and structures, this upper left-hand corner, you can identify one of the small, semi-annoying figures in one of these cages is Seamus. The
Yes! Just the person that we needed to raid the yes!
currently about possibly, you're surprised that you saw him. It's maybe 300 feet up. You only saw because of his tiny, annoying body that you recognize in any age. Because you were the one, Ashoka, who spent some time with him when he walked away from the guild that one day, trying to learn about part of the history of Portwind, after which he said not to contact him again. But you do see him there, and you do recognize him, and it's up to you whether you choose to share this information.
That's not important.
Oh my god! The flowers are important, but the people are not.
And as you all walk in, you can see that Sykes once again is coming in, and behind you, after all those people push past you, Errol kind of stamps his foot on the ground, and once again does a, and then a small group of people detach kind of from the second and third levels and start to come down. Actually, just one currently. A lot of people like stop and look to clearly recognizing that call, but only one of them, a woman in some kind of light armor who'd been looking like she was going around to different people on various levels, starts to come down to meet you all there as well. And then Sykes turns back to you and says, "This is our hub, or at least one of them. Before we got back to the temple and then reclaimed it for a closer space, this is where we've been working from. Any of those of us who are willing to help and try to figure this all out is here and is working and is doing everything that they can. And so far we've been able to build something quite impressive, even just as a temporary housing and planning space, but it's what we have and what we are. And when I told you before," and he looks at Vincent and Pam, "that we have civilization," he kind of gestures behind him, "I was not lying. The loss of Portwind would not be the loss of civilization as a whole. It would just be challenging the norm, as it is." Errol kind of, "Very nice, Sykes, I like that one." "Will you?"
So,
mhm.
what good would that even do? Destroying one city, or, that's not gonna do anything.
It would stop them from destroying us.
What's one city gonna do to the entire wilds?
Apparently,
We know what
bomb
they
it.
could do. Yeah, you're right. But we can get rid of the bombs. You don't have to get rid of the whole city. We can get rid of the people who made the bombs. What's the whole city got to do with it?
Pam, the spirit in that city is the kind of thing that wants to destroy more than create, so often it seems. I understand that there are many people in it who are innocent, but there are innocent people out here too. And if that city is the place that keeps breeding this kind of violence and discaring about the life around it, then something needs to either stop or be changed. Very good! Very good. You guys are on your game tonight. Shut
I
up.
hate to say it,
Hmm?
but that seems a bit hypocritical if you're planning on destroying the city.
Yeah.
Vega still
You're
looks
saying-
troubled.
You're saying that Portwind is based on destruction and they cause more harm than good, but you plan on destroying them.
Maybe not destroying them, maybe just a bit of a wake-up call. And then he
Well,
moves you all further into the site. You can keep talking, but he's trying to get you to move further in.
If we knew what you had in mind, it would help out a lot. I know it's hard to trust us because we just met, but we want peace just as much as you.
Very good, very good.
Roll it
Very
for
good, Vincent. You're on your A game tonight.
Can I get advantage?
Roll a persuasion check. Pam, you roll a charisma check. If you get above a 15, he gets advantage.
Oh my god, please. Please. Oh my god, are you serious?
You can tell that he's listening to you, but you don't know if any of it hits home.
Well, it's my turn then.
Okay.
It's my turn. So, Errol,
Yes.
I understand that I'm not really sure you want to destroy the city, correct? You just don't want any more progression or intrusion into the wilds. What if we could come up with a plan where they don't bother you and you don't bother them? I'm not saying we have a plan like that, but what if we could, based on hypothetical theories?
But that's the thing, isn't it? I don't know if that's sustainable.
Well, we could find a way to make it sustainable.
What if when they need more wood to burn fires? What if when they need more berries to make their food? What if they need
Well, you've
things from the
proven
wilds?
Well,
you've
that's when
just
you
proven
could.
to us that you don't need to hurt the wilds to get those kinds of resources.
But they don't know that.
So
Well,
that's
you told them.
that's when you start commerce. That's when you start talking to one another. That's when you start trade. That's when you start
Listen,
all that stuff.
we
Economies.
don't use gold. We have nothing we don't want nothing from them. We don't want gold. And that, I think, Portland don't understand living off the land like we do. They don't understand depending on one another rather than stealing from your neighbor. Am I wrong?
Have you tried to
No,
explain it to
you
them?
are not.
Some
When
of
was
us
the
have.
last time? When was the last time any of your higher ups talked to their higher ups?
When their gods departed from each other?
People cross over now and then, but usually it's to either come or stay one way or the other. And you can see he's looking towards where you guys are walking, his lip kind of curls in, and he's looking at Xandra. You know, people leave behind what they have for what they think they want. Both ways. As you guys are coming up, the woman that came down kind of reaches Sykes and shakes his hand. And then Sykes comes over and kind of introduces her. You can see she's like an older human woman with kind of fine blonde hair that's graying and silvering near the temples, tied back in like a low ponytail, and kind of gentle looking hands and features, but really determined and focused eyes as she looks over all of you. And he says, "This is Clarice. She came to us from Portland before, after she realized that how do you put it? That the city life wasn't for me?" Yeah, that's the fine way to do it.
What?
That the city life wasn't for me.
Oh, okay.
No worries, I understand. Yeah. As you guys are, they stand in front of you guys, I want you all to make perception checks again. Okay. Wow, you guys. Okay.
Good job, Ashoka.
All right.
Nice, Darius.
All right. So basically, what starts to happen is Curry starts to talk and say, basically, she's starting to kind of testify about why she left the city to come to the wilds after she had this very deep inner realization that you couldn't truly be. She is a cleric. You couldn't truly be holy in Portwind, which Vincent and Pam, you're focusing on, because previously she had been a cleric to Arathis, and then she had seen, after seeing some of the things that happened with the Sentinels of Savine while they were still in operation, seeing what happened with the different sailors that came into port, seeing what happened with different government officials over time, she felt it just wasn't worth it, and she felt called more so to Melora after that time. But while she's saying that, Ashoka and Darius, you can overhear an argument happening not too far away with Xandra and this other man. And what they're saying is... "You abandoned us, Xandra. There is so much more to learn and to see. All the bounty of the wild is not enough for you. Don't you see? They're just as much as an evolution of the wild as we are." And they're, like, clearly, this is someone, Darius, you notice in particular, because as Darius remembers Xandra, she's clearly arguing with someone that she's argued with before, and they're clearly going over an argument that they've had before, only this time it's worse because she has not been here in a while. And it's slowly starting to get louder and a bit more heated as all of this goes on. And Clarice kind of says, seeing that she's not holding everyone's full attention, says, "I found my powers much more use here, understanding where we ought to be and where we came from to begin with, than to try to heal what doesn't want to be healed. That will never get you very far." Have you ever tried to practice medicine on someone who doesn't want to be treated? It is agonizing, not just for you, but for them. And that is how I was beginning to feel about Portwind.
Does that mean they don't deserve to be treated?
No, but it means that even if you want the best for someone, or a group of someones at any given time, if they aren't willing to take it and try to be better, you cannot force them. If you don't set a bone, you cannot force it to heal. And if it does heal, it's going to heal broken. Unfortunately, you cannot force people into what's best for them. And I know I have tried and made that mistake many a time.
Clarice, that was beautiful.
Thank you. What was your name again?
My name is Darius, a founding member of the Guild of Guiding Light.
I remember.
Xandra is one of ours. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, could you call Sandra over?
At that name, Clarice looks kind of confused, but Sykes looks up and over, and then he goes, and then he starts to walk over and he gestures for, "Hey, Xandra." And then she is so... I'm gonna see if he gets her attention. Hold on.
How far away is she?
Not terribly far. 30 or so feet.
Can I message her?
You could.
I say, Zandra, could you please join us over here?
Roll a performance check, which is what I just had him do, and he failed. But with advantage, because message. Okay. Breaking through the haze of her argument, you can see that she literally has like a hand raised in frustration, and then she just kind of freezes where she is and turns and looks back to you, and then she comes over and she's like, "Oh, Darius!" And she kind of walks over and leaves the other person. Hey, Zandra! Still angry behind her. Zandra Niela is similarly extremely tall and but more lithe than Thega or Errol, and has creamy pale fur as opposed to the kind of yellowish brown as the other two. She also has a kind of like odd shock of black across the left eye of her and back all across to her spine. And she, it kind of like, almost kind of sways like a car sale wobbly man as she comes over. Darius, whatever are you doing here? All of you. Is this Vincent? Oh, he's so big now.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Hey, Xandra.
It's been so long. Do you still play with that mask?
I'm trying to keep that on the down low, but
of
yes.
Of course.
Yes, Sandra, we came here to Portland a couple of weeks ago, trying to establish the guild,
Yes, I know.
and it got destroyed. They destroyed it.
I know. Seamus was Seamus is why I came here. They have him up there, and she points, kind of like wildly, and it takes you a second to see him because the like cage he's in is kind of swinging because it looks like he's kicking a bit.
Oh no.
So I say to Thega, Madam, please let my friend go. Let him join us. What has he done to disgrace you?
I am rather unsure. Surely, hold on. Sykes? Well, it is my understanding that he was trying to infiltrate our planning stations and uncover certain information that we held dear to us.
That's Seamus, all right. He's noisy. He's nosy. Lots of times he's negative, so that doesn't mean he's a bad person. He's another founding member of the Guild of Guiding Light. So, please.
How long were you planning on keeping him in there?
Until the plans were carried out, therefore he could no longer leak the information. It's not that he just seems to be a bit tetchy about all of it. He's just sitting up there until I don't know.
Well, he doesn't look comfortable, that's for sure. That would make me testy.
Roll a persuasion check.
You got this.
If anybody wishes to continue to perceive more as well, go ahead and make another perception check.
I kind of don't want to. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Come on, Vincent.
I'm just in another world for some reason.
You're looking for Nomi.
I'm looking
Sandra,
for
did you
what?
not speak
Nomi?
up for him?
Sorry, what, Darius?
Sandra, did you not speak up for Seamus?
I have been, but I'm afraid that my own... They think I've abandoned the wild since I left to be a part of the city. It's... Perhaps I did wrong by coming here. I thought that my past would help, but evidently it does not. And Sykes kind of shrugs. It's clear that he's not as personally invested in Zandra as the person she's arguing with is, who follows up behind her shortly after. Yeah. We were in the middle of a discussion. Oh, you were in the middle of a discussion like you always are.
Say, excuse me, sir. My name is Darius. How are you? May I speak to you?
He kind of looks you up and down. You can see that this, he has the exact, very nearly the exact fur pattern as Zandra, except his black stripe goes over his right eye and is a touch more gray. So.
I see. Are you?
I like your stripe.
He looks you up and down.
My dear sir, Zandra is not abandoning the wild. She's just on the pursuit of knowledge. The pursuit of light and knowledge. She's not abandoning you.
Which is what I've told him many times, but you
Maybe
always...
he does. Maybe he needs to hear it from somebody else. I'm myself and Seamus, the one up in the cage. We're forming the Guild of Guiding Light, and we would like her to be part of our students. We're not going to take her away from anywhere. We just want her to free to get the knowledge that she seeks.
Is this all supposed to comfort me? Make a persuasion check.
Again?
You're talking to people.
Don't you want to make it again? You got 10.
Yeah. Pam, you take a second with your perception check to count the number of, like, hanging cages up there, and there are 13, like, prisoners of some sort or another.
I thought they were bait for the bear.
I was describing it like that way so you would know what it would look like.
The forest whale?
Do not confuse my similes and my actual descriptive nonsense.
Where is the forest whale?
Sykes is kind of tapping his foot, seeing that you guys are getting off track. And
Are there forest whales here?
who are you asking? There's many
Sykes.
NPCs. Okay. Sykes kind of looks at you and says, and kind of. I wouldn't rule it out entirely, but I have never heard it described in such a way. Do you mean a Tarask? Probably not. Tarask is more. It has feet.
Is that a forest whale?
I do not pretend to know all of Melora's creations.
Then, yeah.
Clarice next to him kind of like, technically it's not that she's the creator of animals and such, it's more so that, and then he like cuts her off before she starts to go too deep into how that actually works. Okay. Sykes kind of steps back, and then after another second of consideration, he waves a hand at Errol, who... Oh, gosh dang it. Once again. And then everybody's conversation kind of quiets down. Okay, what do we all need here? I need to continue to evaluate whether or not we can trust these people. That's number one for me. But you are said people. What else do you need?
Is there anything we can do to prove ourselves to you?
He kind of looks you up and down. Had you come to us earlier, there may well have been a task we could have given you, but we are but a day away from the refresh. Now
Wait,
it's
the
not
refresh is tomorrow?
day after tomorrow.
Okay. Woo!
We know a couple people from the wilds.
Who?
We've come here before. Nomi is one of them. Also,
I was kind of
Hyric
like,
and
there it
Nikita.
Pardon?
Phil and Philbert.
Mention of Nomi.
Hyric and Nikita.
Oh yeah.
Inaz, she used to be in the city, but she came to the wilds to escape.
Oh yeah.
Bert, Phil, and Philbert.
You can see Sykes' eyebrow raising when you said Heinrich, right?
Yeah, was it Heinrich or Hyric, I think? Yeah.
His eyes slide over to the person arguing with Xandra and then back to you like,
Is
Oh,
that
God.
him?
that's, yeah.
Oh no!
Hey, Hyric.
Oh
That's why
I
he's
think
been
he's
just
wearing-
staring at you.
Wow.
He was wearing like a mask or something before, right? When we first met him.
He was just kind of
I thought
standing
so.
far away. He was wearing the like kind of similar armor to what Sykes has. He may have been having a mask because he was on the edges and like perimetering. Right now he's at home base, so he doesn't have anything like that on.
Okay. So you're hired.
Yes, I am. I thought we told you to stay out. Thega steps up. It's fine. We are trying to convince them of our point to see if they can help us. They have intel about what Portwind is planning. Can we trust them?
Yeah, we want to help.
Thega kind of looks around at all of you.
Is Enos still here?
Some of them, Thega says.
What?
Sorry, I meant mostly. And then make a persuasion check if you want him to tell you about Enos.
Okay.
All of us or just Vincent?
Vincent is the one who said it.
Okay.
Well.
Oof.
Every person's choices are their own. And Xandra stands off to the side being like, what the?
Listen, she's our friend. If you did anything to her, we're not gonna be happy. I know we're trying to gain trust here and all, but randomly doing things to people who are looking for escape in the wilds isn't gonna help at all. We just want to know what happened to her.
She is fine. She fits in with the wilds more than you might believe. I believe we may know more about her now than you did. For instance. And then he kind of looks between all of you and looks at Xandra and then just kind of, stomps off because he can see that he's not going to win this conversation.
We just want to know she's okay. That's all.
He has already left. He is stomping back to an area where you can see that they're like carving spears, basically.
What was that about? I asked the other people.
Heinrich is a leader in these times for perimeter control for the wilds in order to ensure people, not unlike your friend up there, don't get in and see things that they ought not see. The wilds does not belong to us, but we must protect it. It is our home.
Right.
All that being said, perhaps we can see about your friend's release after we finish showing you the rest, and perhaps the worst of our story.
Who else is trapped up there?
Are you asking them or me?
Yes, I'm asking them.
Make a persuasion check, Pam.
Nice.
There are a couple of people who came in from the city who were just generally looking to cause trouble. A man who seemed intent to kill just about everything he saw. Very long, ugly knife. Many. He claimed to have killed people in Portwind as well, so honestly we should have given him back, but he's there now and he's not going to hurt anybody else. There's a couple of other people who were defecting from the inheritors, he says kind of gently, who looked as though they meant to make off with inside information to the city. There's a couple of people who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time and still have to be tried. There's a myriad of reasons.
Why would somebody want to defect from the inheritors?
He kind of shrugs. Why does anybody want to leave the wilds in the first place? Some people are drawn by the idea of... Some people look at Portwind and see an opportunity for advancement, a way to change their life beyond collecting leaves and bark and berries to make their way. Some people
What if it's not that simple? What if it's problems within the wilds?
I'm not saying that it isn't. I don't see every conversation that happens here. But even so.
Can we talk to the prisoners?
Why would you want to? Aside
I'm
from the
still on
one
my.
that you
I mean,
know.
I'm still on my flying carpet. I can go talk to them whenever I want.
Like I said, we're here to learn, first and foremost.
Do you ever get off of that, Pam?
Not lately, since I've discovered it. Since I discovered I had it this whole time, I'm kind of making up for lost time.
I see. Um. Sykes kind of squares his shoulders. If you will give us more full information about part of the interiors of the city and what you've seen, and locations to dungeons, entrances to the city center, we will let you talk to the prisoners.
Let's have a sidebar. I
Okay.
kind of like
Good
huddle
call.
everyone over to the side.
They took one earlier. They will grant you one now.
Yes.
What do you guys think? I don't know if we should just give away that information. We don't know what they want to do yet.
I mean, maybe we can tell them about some of the paths in the dungeon. Maybe we can tell them about the worms that we found.
That's true. I don't know if that'll be enough for them though.
We can tell them about the weird room that I found. See if they know anything about it.
That's also true. I have a map of the outside of the Excelsior building. If we want to expose them.
I mean, Excelsior is pretty bad in the city, so that might be good for them.
Yeah. But we also don't like Excelsior.
That's true.
I don't know if that's I don't know if we should do that. I'm just saying it's
Quick
Yeah, I mean-
question.
yes.
Darius, did you share that the people in black were from Excelsior with the rest of the group?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And
Just
I have
making sure.
I want to make sure that we're not too fond of the city the way it is either.
Yeah.
Any city that has anything illegal, anything you can get paid for is legal. That's not right. If you get paid for murder, murder's not right. I don't care if you get paid for it or not.
That is the one rule of the thing
they-
that you're not allowed to do, though. Particularly, though.
Murder is the one thing that's outlawed.
Yeah, now it's not the way it used to be
Correct.
with Dos Meas. Dos Meas.
Hmm.
It's true.
But that's also proof that they're willing to change, which could
There you
also help.
go.
But also, if Excelsior did help us save all those people, I don't know if we should. Yeah, we might want to rethink our biases towards them, I guess. I mean, they were just doing it for money,
Yeah.
but that's a discussion for another time.
We could
Should we
just
tell
tell them
them?
about the worms and tell them maybe about the room I found. What do you
Yeah,
guys think?
we have a map of the city. We can. I don't know. I don't
Should we
think
lead them into other parts of the dungeon?
Maybe that's our best option right now, because we don't want to give them too much information. But I want to be able to question the prisoners just in case.
Yeah.
Like that murder sounded a lot like the person who was going around killing people in Portland.
Yeah.
But so you want to just tell them about what's in the temple or the puzzle room?
We could. We can. Yeah. Might be our best bet.
Maybe we should ask one more time if they can tell us what they're planning, because if they're gonna invade or something, then we might not want them to do it in specific places. Like the clockmaker's shop is close to Suaz's shop and Ronnie's shop. The temple, that wouldn't be a good place for them to invade, because that's where a lot of innocent people are.
True.
Probably, I think. But we can show them how to get in at least, maybe.
Maybe we would give them some insight that they don't otherwise have.
Yeah. We can just tell them that it exists and that there's entrances through there, and see what else they'll give us.
Yeah. Well, let's go see if that's enough for them.
Alright. So what exactly are we going to tell them?
that there's a dungeon that leads to a bunch of different parts of. Well, I guess only one leads to the city, huh?
No, I think two do. There's the Temple of Arathis and
True.
then the clockmaker's shop.
True. Yeah. And
And
then
we
we
don't
have-
know where the one with the paladin was. We don't know where that leads.
We can tell them that the paladin is down there. We can also tell them that one leads to the Underdark, and then we can tell them about that weird room.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all you, Vincent.
Okay. Um. Okay, so we have I break the huddle and I'm like,
Okay.
we have more information about where we came from. Like literally where we just came from. Have you gone into that temple at all?
We have not had the luxury of time to do so, no.
There's a few entrances in there that lead up into Portland, into the main city.
Can you draw it out for us?
I could. I'd probably have to go back there though.
Is that all?
You could give him a rough sketch, couldn't you?
Probably, but I don't know if I actually want to give them that yet. There's more to it. There's there was 12 doorways, right? In the room. It leads to one big room. There's 12 different doorways. One of them leads to the Underdark. Another one leads to this supposed paladin that broke. Well, we think it's the paladin who destroyed the spine of the wilds. And that could be very useful information to figuring out more about your own history.
Mm-hmm. They're all listening very intently.
So we could take you back there if some of you wanted to come with us, and we could do that if you would allow us to talk to the prisoners.
We said some of them laid back to the city. Which ones laid back to the city and how?
Let's do another sidebar. Are we sure we want to tell them this?
What, the clockmaker shop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is that it's too close to Ronnie's shop and Suaz's shop. I'm afraid they're going to, if they just do a full-on invasion, then they would be at risk, and we don't want them to be at risk.
True.
And kind of same goes for the temple. But we could also, okay. I want to make 100% certain that they can't hear us right now.
Okay, make a sleight of hand check.
Oh gosh. All of us?
Sure.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that works. Wow.
Of course. Old man Ashoka.
Ashoka, are you as invested in this conversation as they are, or are you doing something else?
Be doing something else.
I mean, I'm there, but
Okay.
I'm not communicating.
I understand. I'm just giving you the opportunity to be weird if you want to. That's all.
Please be weird. Please go listen in on other conversations. Please do something.
Ashoka runs away where you guys can't see him.
Oh my god.
Make a perception check, Ashoka.
We'll deal with that later.
Okay.
I mean,
The reason I wanted to check is my idea is that we could tell them about the entrances and then warn the people in the areas, warn the people that we know and care about.
we can warn
there
everybody.
warn everybody that there could be something going down. But they don't have to know that, which is why I'm trying to be silent about it.
Mm-hmm. Ashoka,
Mm-hmm.
after
That
you...
would mean you were setting them up as a trap. That's not good.
Yeah. Well,
It's not exactly a trap.
Yeah, it is a trap. If you
it's
tell
warning the
everybody
civilians.
they're
Yeah.
coming in here.
No, we would only be telling people that we think are in danger, like innocents, we wouldn't be telling any kind of authorities or anything.
Do you think they're going to let us go to where you can warn them before they get there? I don't think that's going to happen. We might end up in the cage with the rest of them.
I guess
You're
we'll
right.
see how the rest of the conversation plays out.
Ashoka,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you hear a vague sound of a rushing water near you, and you follow it to get away from this conversation because water could mean something else. But as you go, you listen and you stand at the edge of the mouth of a small waterfall where a little bit of a river, a break off from the ocean, is kind of snaking through here, and you wonder idly if it links back to that other pool and how far you'd have to swim to get back to the ocean to get back on a ship. But you also hear faintly from somewhere you can't quite see 3 kind of not dissonant but strange humming voices that almost sound like they're making a chord. And it sounds faint and far off and you're not sure quite where, but it's somewhere, and it kind of mixes in with the babbling of the brook, and you kind of just have a moment away from the rest of the party for a second, listening to these sounds and feeling a little bit comforted, but that ache from whatever part of this forest is hurting still sits in your stomach. Okay, your sidebar has ended, and you believe that you have been overheard.
Oh my gosh.
Dang it. Okay. Full disclosure. We know where those tunnels lead, but we have people out there that we care about. We have people near those areas that we care about. We need to know what you're planning before we just tell you how to get into the city. Are they in danger?
Sykes' eyes glance over all of you. Make a persuasion check.
Does anyone want to try to help me in any way?
Yes.
What do you say, Pam?
Yes, I do.
Don't you want to try to protect them in any capacity?
Okay. Make it with advantage. Go ahead and roll it again. Go ahead, roll again, Vincent.
Okay.
Dang it.
Didn't I help? Can I help too?
You can only have advantage once. You cannot have double advantage.
Can he try to make a separate roll if he sees something else?
You can roll your chaos roll. You can do some Oliver stuff. You can do whatever you want to try that you know is possible.
Okay. I'll just see what they have to say for now.
Okay. Sykes seems to kind of be holding his tongue for a second, and then Errol steps up and says, "Are they going to show some kind of consideration for us and for our innocent? There were generations of people that were wiped out when Portland expanded to what it is now. There wasn't any consideration then. There were whole swaths of this forest infected by whatever it is that Portland is doing." Thega kind of steps up from the opposite side of Sykes' shoulder and goes, "But if we are trying to fight against the violence that they do, what does it mean if we say that we cannot even guarantee the lives of the innocent? I thought that we were planning for something highly specific, not an all-out war." And Sykes kind of
I
looks
agree.
at her and goes, "You always knew it was a possibility. I knew it was a prophecy. I don't know if the prophecy wasn't even included in the actual..."
Even still,
I'm
you're
just
treating
becoming that. Go ahead.
Portland like it's one person. It's a thing. People live there. Not everybody there is terrible.
Finally, Sykes sighs and says, "The thing that we are planning hopefully shouldn't. It is a bold statement. It is a specific move. Very localized. Some people, depending on where they are, if they're at the wrong place at the wrong time, might get hurt. But we are not going out of our way intending to hurt innocent people. That is not our intention. Our intention Someone put it a wake-up call.
Well, is there any way that we can ensure that as little people get hurt as possible?
We can help you execute this carefully if you just tell us what you're planning to do.
Somebody else roll another persuasion check with advantage. He's thinking real hard.
Me?
Pam?
Can I do it?
If
Yeah, you said it.
you said it last with advantage.
Yes!
Come on.
Oh my god. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. He squares his shoulders again, and he steps up specifically to you, Pam. And he's kind of like staring you dead in the
Remember
eyes.
my charisma roll. Remember my charisma roll.
I know. But he's saying it specifically to you.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to be able to save many people. But if there's anyone you particularly like, keep them away from the dais at the center of the city building in city center. The one where they hold the refresh. And then he steps back. In a way.
Thank you.
He gives
Did
you
we
a
all hear
look.
that?
No, he said it just to Pam.
Oh,
Wait, so was I the only one that heard it?
Pam, what'd he say? Pam, what'd he say? What'd he say? What'd he say,
Oh my
Pam?
god.
If you wish to talk to any of the prisoners, you can speak to 3 of them. We do not have time for any beyond that. If you wish to speak, speak. Also, where did your suddenly aging friend go?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
We
that.
should probably be worried about that.
Not again. Oh, man.
Okay.
Also, the so you told her what your plan is?
I told her
No
as
way.
much as she needs to know.
I just like
Okay.
look at him.
Mm-hmm.
The
What'd he say, Pam?
Darius.
there's 2 pathways in the dungeon. One of them leads to a clockmaker's shop in the marketing district. Another one leads to the temple of it leads to the temple of Arathis.
Mm.
But there's many innocent people there. If you go through there, it should only be as a means to get to where you need to go.
Understood. If you could, at some point, fashion us a map or something to keep us from getting lost inside, it would be much appreciated. Now,
Can I try to recreate one?
sure, go ahead and roll a check with your cartographer's tools. And whoever wishes to go talk to the prisoners...
I'm going to.
Okay. Anybody
I mean,
else?
I'm the only one with
Yeah.
I'm the only one with the carpet, so I can fit what 3 people?
With you, yes. Vincent, you reproduce a pretty freaking good map of everything that you've seen from the pathways in this area, and you hand it over to him, and he carefully kind of tucks it away. Thank you.
Can I make a second one for us?
I'll say with that high of a roll, you know the strokes that you did to, at some point later, to make one for yourselves. Yeah.
Cool. I also
Maybe
want to
tonight
question
when
the
we're all
prisoners.
sleeping. Hey,
Yes, please.
I'd like to speak to the prisoners also, please.
All right.
Okay.
So you go with
Let's
Pam.
speak to Seamus.
I want to go try to find Ashoka.
Okay.
If you 2 want to question the prisoners.
Sure.
Okay, so you two start to fly up. It's going to take a hot second because it's like 300 feet. Vincent, make an investigation check to try and find Ashoka. Ashoka, are you willing to be found?
No.
Okay, make a stealth check.
Come on, Granny.
What?
Come on.
I'm not going to deny my player's agency.
Yeah.
Ashoka, go ahead and make a stealth check, please.
Hopefully I'll at least find something. I got a pretty good investigation.
Yeah, it's decent.
Go find pieces of Ashoka. Oh my god.
You are able to find easily enough the same babbling brook that he was, but he is no longer there. You are actually see here, kind of along the edges of the water, similar kind of moss to what was growing on some of the trees that Zandra placed back onto one of them from earlier after she druid crafted something. You can also see that in the midst of everything, not Zandra, Gracious. I know her name. I named her. Thega. Gracious. Thega put there. And as you do walk by, you see that while you guys are off, while some of your compatriots are off going up and over, you see that Thega has returned to some of the people underneath and has started to kind of pull different things from the little belt at her waist and is starting to help with some of the carpentry things that's going on while the other two go off to do more battle strategy. The wilds are a very beautiful, large, confusing place, and of course Ashoka would get lost somewhere in there. Okay, you two, Ashoka, do you want to type to me in Discord and tell me where you went? If you want.
Sure.
Pam and Darius, you ascend on Pam's magic carpet up to the varying cages. You have been given clearance to talk with 3 of the different prisoners up here. So far, the ones that you know are there are the murderer, Seamus. People who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Go ahead and make perception checks as you fly up.
Okay.
Really quick, before I go too far, can I get one of the communication stones?
I think you had already been given one. Didn't Darius have Pam give you hers?
I don't think I ever did though.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that happened.
So, do you yell that up to me, and I can just toss it to you?
Yeah, sure.
I will allow this to happen. Okay, good job, you guys.
For once. Also, Vincent, don't look at Discord.
What? Okay.
Just don't look at it. So I think Ashoka might be typing before we call.
Ashoka, making an athletics check, please, or a
Okay,
wisdom check.
Good.
Depending on how you get there, you can either like try to swim. Okay. Fantastic.
What is happening?
So Ashoka, as you do the thing that you're doing, Vincent is
What
looking
is
for you.
happening?
I knew it was going to be this when he was old man Ashoka. Pam and Darius, you're able to make out pretty clearly up here. A decent chunk of the people in these cages are already sleeping. You can see that, like 3 of them are sleeping. Seamus is still kicking. One person with like kind of longer bedraggled dark hair in front of their face is kind of twitching in their cage, kind of looking out past and gripping the bars. A couple of folks that look like a race that you haven't seen before. One of them appears to be in a bag, another one in a cage. And then Pam, you recognize a rather feline-looking face who is kind of just scratching on the inside of one of the bars with her nail. And then there is...
Who is she?
As you fly up, you recognize, and you can kind of hear her mumbling under her breath. She goes, "This is always just my luck. It is just before the refresh. It is after I already tried to tell somebody."
Oh no.
So,
You again.
what?
Why did you run it into you?
Why are you on the flying carpet? How did you get the carpet to fly?
That's not important here. Why are you here? Okay, I guess we're talking to her first, Darius.
1 out of 3.
God. Okay, remind me what your name is, crazy woman.
I never gave you one, crazy woman.
Don't. You're in a cage.
Yes, but you are on a flying carpet with a very bedraggled looking man. Hello, bedraggled looking man. I do not have a comb with you. I have a comb with this one.
Tell me what happened. I'm trying to help. Jesus.
I was on a trapping mission after I went out for the woman who runs the Broken Bottle Inn. She needed some specific things, and apparently I got
Can
too
you
far in.
slow down for 1 second?
Oh my gosh.
You can see her rattle the like bars of her cage, and she swings a little bit. I was on a trapping mission for the woman who runs the Broken Bottle Inn, looking for some specific meats.
I could have easily stolen that job from you, but continue.
You are ridiculous. When I had been in the wild before, I had caught wind of some of their plans, and I had tried to report it to a city center, but they were too busy looking for some strange people flying through the sky at night. And she kind of looks at your carpet.
Definitely not us.
I
Oh,
remember
for
seeing
sure
you
not.
there that day as well. I was waiting outside the city center and I could just see you.
For sure not the flying carpet. That much was clear. So what did you hear though? What did you hear that you wanted to report?
I just heard that they were planning something for the refresh, something that could be very destructive.
You didn't hear any details?
No, I just knew that usually the wilds is the wilds. You go into it, you take what you need, you go back. I'm not so used to it, how you say, fighting back. Aside from, of course, the beast. The beast, wild. The Tarask, oof. Big boy, not good. But
Wait, what?
you do not know what the Tarask is.
I don't. Please enlighten me.
It is not unlike a god unto the people of the wilds. It is a massive, absurdly massive beast. Have you
Is
seen
it like a forest whale?
What is it? No, it has legs.
Oh,
Have you seen the dinosaurs before?
I have. Have you? Oh yeah, there are dinosaurs here.
You're
forgot
very
about
strange.
Oh, sorry.
It's alright.
I'm scatterbrained.
The Tarask could stomp a T-Rex under his baby feet.
Jeez.
Are they here often?
That is
Are
one
they
of the
rare?
things that I heard rumor was part of their plan. But I do not know if this is true. You hear rumors in cages, and she kind of shakes her cage again.
What's your name? I'm Pam.
I am Necta.
Nectar? Nectar? Nectar?
Necta.
okay. Nectar. Nectar.
Necta.
Nectar. Sorry.
I do not understand how you got my job.
I'm stronger than you.
Okay, so I'm going to message her since we're sitting there just outside her cage, and I'm going to say, Necta, what are you not telling us?
What the? Why are you talking inside
It's
of my
okay.
head? You are 5 feet away from me.
I think he's trying to be discreet.
Because this is more invasive. I want to know what you're not telling us.
Wow.
Wow.
Roll an intimidation check.
I'm just kind of like whispering to her. I'm sorry, he does this sometimes. Please just like follow on.
Oh my gosh.
This is what I hear in my head.
Okay, she kind of... Don't do that again. I do not like people being in my head. Have you not heard about the aboleth attacks? It is very awful. Do you want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like an aboleth, Shaggy Man?
Do you want to tell us what you're not telling us?
There are
Keep
rumors.
listening to you.
There are rumors that certain sects of the inheritors of the wilds have sent
Can I
search
make an
parties.
insight check?
Sure. Darius, please mute yourself.
It's not me.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
It would.
Insight check. What were you inciting her yet? She hadn't finished her sentence.
Well, I want to just check her, like, as she's answering, I want to just see if she's telling the truth.
Understood. Okay. There have been rumors that certain sects of the inheritors of the wilds are not happy with how some of the others attempts to keep peace in this time, even with whatever it is that they have planned. That is what a couple of these are in for. They say that they sent search parties deep into the wilds to try and find the Tarask, to come back and, well, I imagine a beast that could stomp out a dinosaur could stomp out a city, yes? But these are rumors, or so they say. That is what, she jerks her head towards one of the people that's asleep. That is, what he is in here for. Called for treason to break up the... treasonous to destroy the intent of whatever it is that they are wanting to do.
And yet they call them deflectors.
Defectors?
Yeah, defectors, yes.
Okay.
Not deflectors.
I mean, it could be true if you wanted to make a pun about the light and the turning it. Anyway.
So could the great monster that they're talking about be those purple worms?
Purple worms? No, purple worms are far different from Tarask. Purple worms are a highly specific creature from the Underdark. How do you know about the purple worm?
We've already encountered them and killed one.
I remember that there was a couple of earthquakes before I left the city on my last mission. Is that what those were?
This is kind of a shot in the dark, but do you
Yes.
would you recognize anybody that kind of looks like me but blue?
You but blue.
Have you seen anybody like that in the city?
Hmm.
Anybody that stands out?
Roll just a straight up and down d20. Roll a luck roll.
Please. Please. Okay.
Unfortunately, no. You are the only one of you that I have encountered.
Oh, really?
You take such pride at taking away one job for me. I have made my living in this city for years doing jobs that you only...
I don't take pride in it. You should just give it to me.
You had to have your dog steal the paper away from me. You recall this, yes?
Don't bring him into this.
I see he is still here with you.
Do you have something to say about this? Listen, I don't want to be enemies. I want to help you. But for now, I think here is the safest you could possibly be.
You cannot be serious. You're going to leave me in this cage.
I have to. I'm trying to work with them.
This is demeaning.
You've literally done nothing wrong, but
Of course not. All I did was pay attention.
I know. I'll come back for you, okay?
If you can.
Are you doubting my ability?
Well, it sounds like the purple worms have been ruining the city. They are possibly bringing a Tarask, and if not, they have some other scary plan to mess with the refresh. Only save me if there's a city worth going back to.
So you'd rather die in this cage? Do they even feed you guys?
Of course they feed us.
Okay, well at least they're not animals. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that in any. You're a cat person. I'm sorry.
Yes, well, at
What's
least
the
they
name
are
of-
not devils either.
What's the name of the monster they're trying to get?
A Tarask.
Gee, I
Tarask.
wish I knew how to spell that.
So do I. It starts with a T.
Badass. Too. Yeah, let's just go with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well,
Let's go see Seamus.
yeah, I'll talk to you later, Nifta. It was good seeing you again.
She kind of waves her sharpened claws at you that she's been sharpening on the inside of her bars and continues to scratch. Seamus is in the middle of like... He's like been in the wild for however long he's been here and he thinks he's like feral, but he's just punching... He's just punching the cage. He's just punching the bars of the cage. And then he does not stop when you come up. He's just...
I continue to message him and I say, Seamus, it's Darius. Seamus, it's Darius. Seamus, it's Darius.
He finally like looks over at you and jumps.
Seamus, it's Darius.
But stop it. God.
Okay,
I disliked it when you do that when I'm sane. Ugh.
now that I've got your attention, Seamus, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Where have you been?
I've been trying to track down who broke our guild building. And that led to several different places. Where have you been? Where's Ramu?
I was helping you with part of that. I was looking for Xandra to try and get some perspective on other things happening in the city and the wilds, and now I'm...
Yes, I see you found Sandra, or vice versa. I see that. Where is Ramu?
What do you mean, where is Ramu? He's supposed to be in City Center negotiating your guys starting the guild. Is he not in City Center anymore? Can no one keep their tasks straight when I'm not there?
Look, Seamus, things are going to happen, and I don't want Ramu in the city center.
You don't know that yet.
What do you mean we don't know that yet?
Pam knows it. She hasn't told you yet.
So, Pam, what if Ramul is in the city? Once you hear that Ramul's in the city center,
Oh, did Pam disappear?
I think she did. She just
No.
said her connection dropped.
Okay. We will await Pam. So just continue the conversation. You do not have that information yet.
okay.
Can she hear us? Is she back?
I don't
Hello?
see her. Hello?
Okay, I'm on my phone because my computer's not working.
Okay.
Okay. So, Pam,
Yes.
Seamus just told us that Ramul is supposed to be in the city center for the refresh. What do you have to say about that?
We have to go save Ramu and
What?
literally everybody else in the city center that we care about at least, and that we want to save. And this is horrible.
What are you talking about? I have been in a cage for 3 days. 4. I don't know. What are you talking about?
Wait, I have a very important question.
What?
How do you go to the bathroom?
I cannot understand what you're saying.
How do you go to the bathroom?
What do you mean how do I go to the... Off the side!
Thank you, that's all I wanted to know. We will be going now. Okay,
So, Pam, what did they tell you about their intentions?
they're gonna do something in the city center, and it must have something to do with the Tarask, I guess. But they told me to warn the people that we care about to not be in the city center.
A Tarask? What's a Tarask?
It's like a giant dinosaur, but like a mega dinosaur.
So just like an extra big dinosaur.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, super giant.
If I was a super big dinosaur, I don't think it would be very localized. I think it would just kind of be... He makes stomping noises on the bottom of his cage.
That's true. I feel like it might be different.
How are they going to get up there?
I don't know.
That
How
makes
did
no
you get
sense.
up here? You have a flying carpet. People have magic, Darius. I don't know if you've noticed.
Hey Darius, have you tried asking him about the bomb plans?
Bomb plans? What?
Wait, so you know what a bomb is?
I am an educated man of many years. A bomb is a hypothetical thing that can be contained with steam or various gases, but
Yeah, talk to him about that for a second while I disconnect.
Darius, a bomb? You found a bomb?
Well, we found more than that, Seamus. We found bombs and war wagons.
War wagons.
Wagons with weapons of war mounted to them, like transportational type. I don't know, it'd be like a tank in our times.
Those idiots running this city really are out to get us all killed, aren't they?
Yes, I think they are. We confiscated 2 of the bombs and 1 of the war wagons.
How in the 9 hells did you confiscate a bomb?
Pants.
Hey, don't worry about it. Yeah.
I am in a cage for 3 days. You fly up here, you tell me that there are bombs and a giant...
We can figure out how to, for real, like, disarm them if you can help us read these papers.
Give them to me.
Darius?
Okay, here.
You slip the papers through the bars into Seamus's waiting hands, and he kind of squints at them and starts to read, and is having a hard time in the night light. He's a smart boy. I cannot see properly. Do any of you have a light or a lantern or something?
Yes, I could cast light, right?
Do you have light as a spell?
My chromatic orb can turn on and shine light.
Oh, sure. So you shing, and hold it out over the papers, and he starts to read through them kind of vigorously. Oh, no. Okay. Darius, you are a man of mixtures and science and magic. You know what Silver Prime is.
Yes, I do.
The Silver Prime in these bombs are designed specifically so that they cannot be more or less... Silver Prime is able to keep magical energy circling in on itself supposedly in perpetuity. And he only has a theoretical way to disarm these. I suppose theoretical is all you need when you're a mad scientist trying to destroy something.
Well, please explain.
The Silver Prime, the way that it's working is that since it's created almost in a perfect loop. What's the 3D thing that's like a road that never ends? It's that.
It's a Mobius strip.
Yes.
Since the way that they are inlaid in the bombs, they are maintaining a magical energy that will release and ignite various combinations of powders, gases that are currently sealed and will create a volatile reaction when they are introduced to one another. And the only way to... They're sealed in something so that they can be dropped into liquid if necessary, and they will not be corrupted. They are sealed in things essentially to protect them from outside elements, and it's only when the energy is released that it's strong enough to break the seal. So, in order to break the seal, to deactivate these components that would then explode, you'd have to use Silver Prime, or some kind of an equally important explosion, which, once the thing has been activated, cannot be turned off. And the only theoretical way he has of disengaging these is to... He's like reading to the very end of the notes and getting like frustrated about it. Is to find something that will break down Silver Prime. But I've never heard of such a thing. What breaks down Silver Prime?
Silver Prime, I guess.
What? How does that work?
Optimus Prime, yeah. We could use Silver Prime to disconnect Silver Prime.
How?
Or circumvent Silver Prime.
How?
We can make a bigger band of Silver Prime and wrap it around it.
What would that do?
Hey Darius, quick sidebar. Right next to Seamus. How far away do you think Maud is? Do you think we could try to message her and see if she would know? I mean, she's probably dead asleep right now, but...
I don't think Maud's anywhere near us.
Well, we're in the wilds.
You still have sending.
Sure. Do you want to just give it a shot? Maybe she might know? Because we told her about the bombs already, didn't we?
Yeah, but she didn't show much promise in disarming them.
Well, we can ask her now that we know more about it. She's the only one that really knows right now, and that's might be able to help from the outside. It's worth a shot.
Yeah. It's worth a shot. But I have one shot for sending. And if it gets down to it, I'm going to send Ramu a message saying, get out of the city center.
Well, we have a bunch of people to warn already to leave the city center.
Yeah, not a lot of them do I care about, but Ramu I care about.
We have a ton of people that we care about in the city. Iris? Names
They're not in the
escape
city
me.
center.
They might be tomorrow, or during the refresh. They might be. Remu is not the only one. I'm not going to tell you how to use it, but there's a ton of people that we could tell.
Quick thing. You guys continue considering and pondering Vincent. Are you still looking for Ashoka?
Yes.
What are you doing in order to look for him?
I guess I'm trying to track him, like, see if I can see his footprints or anything. I'm also just kind of looking around in the wilds to see if there's anything out of the ordinary that, like, catches my eye.
Okay, make a perception check and a survival check.
It's like looking for a lost dog. Oh my god. Nice! Finally! Oh my god. Bravo.
Bless
Okay.
you. It's all good.
All right. So, what you realize, two things. What you perceive as you walk along the banks of this river that you can see now, the more that you follow it, you can see how it leads back out into kind of a winding area that eventually leads out into what you assume must be the ocean. You can see that along the banks of this river, you can watch Ashoka's footsteps clearly go boop, 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 and then into the water. He is swimming away somewhere, and you do not currently see Ashoka or Old Man Ashoka. You do see some gray hairs clinging to a piece of driftwood in the river along the way. But more so than that, that's because the survival was 8 and survival is what you use for tracking. But beyond that, what you perceive, that same kind of that kind of consistent humming somewhere near this river. You look up and over, and you can see sitting almost atop, but slightly inside one of these trees, these 3 people in these long robes with long hair and what look like almost as if they were growing out of the tree itself, but not dryads. You know what dryads are. They're linked together and holding hands, and they're all kind of humming and meditating together, and as they shift, you can see that their robes that are made out of leaves look to almost be shifting, like they're going back into the tree and then back out of it, and they're just kind of like continuously, for as long as you've been here, meditating and focusing on something, and you can almost like feel from here the like it's like the wind is moving with them. It's like the tree is shifting a little bit with them. There is a kind of quiet but steady and underlying power in what they're doing. And you can't quite put your finger on it, but it feels very familiar to the other, like, the power that you see in the wilds, which is peaceful and peaceful and peaceful and peaceful until it isn't. It is a babbling brook that leads to a rushing ocean. It is a slight shift in the ground that leads to a sudden earthquake. It is the passing cloud before a hurricane. It is that. So
Have they taken notice of me at all?
Their eyes are closed. They are entirely focused on what they're doing. They're also maybe 50 feet up from where you are on this tree.
Wow.
Yeah. You can see that
I'll kind of go ahead.
one of them has like a large bird on their arm that appears to just kind of like landed there, and that person has not noticed.
Okay. I kind of call out just like gently. I'm like, hello? Hey, hello?
They don't seem to respond. The bird hops slightly on their arm though, so you know something heard you. He did want to hawk.
Is there a way to follow them or anything, or kind of, are they like directly above me, or are they above some? Are they kind of off to the side?
They're like kind of off to the side. There's not really a way to follow them. You could try to climb the tree if you wanted, but yeah, that's about it. Because of how high of a perception roll you got, you're able to see them. You can see now how it would be easy to have missed them before, because the way that they're clothed and the way that they're moving syncs up with how everything else in the wild seems to be just kind of shifting, and the low light from the moon. It almost looks like they could be a part of the natural tree. The only thing really giving them away is the little bit of humming and being able to trace that back to where it's coming from.
Okay. I think what I want to do is I'm going to go near where I saw Ashoka enter the water, and I'm going to Um, I want to sit at a space where I can still see them, kind of floating around,
Mm-hmm.
and see if Ashoka were to return back to the shore from that same area. And I want
Okay.
to just like prop myself up against a tree, and I want to continue to read my plot important book.
Understood. Okay. So you do that. As you do that, Pam and Darius, from where you are, you can hear that same. You can hear Sykes whistle, and you kind of look down at him on instinct now that you've had this conversation with Seamus, and you can see he's looking at you specifically now, and he looks at me and says, "Hurry it up! We need to either get you back to the temple, or unless you want to see the last of what it is we have to show you."
We have to talk to one more person.
Hurry it up!
Okay. Alright. Seamus, is there anything else?
Get me out of this cage? How about?
Will they let us, Darius? Were you able to convince them to let him out? Darius?
Oh, of course, he's content to just leave me here.
Hello?
Darius.
He said BRB at one point, so he might not be back yet.
That's
Oh,
alright.
sure.
Pam,
Okay.
you gotta deal with Seamus on your own.
I'm afraid that if I try to let you out, then it'll feel like a betrayal. So then I should probably just leave you here for now.
You cannot be serious.
Hey, Darius?
Darius, you can't just let her leave me here.
What?
Were you able to convince them to let Seamus go?
I wasn't successful. No.
Well, sorry, Seamus.
Seamus, if I let him get you out of there, you promise to stay with us tonight.
What do
I
you
plan
mean?
I plan on sleeping down here tonight.
Me too.
In the wilds? Are you crazy?
No, I'm not crazy. Are you so citified that you can't spend a night under the stars somewhere?
He is rolling his eyes before you finish the sentence. And then, Pam, once again, you hear the whistle of Sykes, like...
Okay. I'm gonna do a quick divine sense on the rest of the prisoners to see who stands out the most for me to talk to.
They're all mostly pretty gray, aside from the dude with the real draggly hair.
Okay, I'm gonna go talk to him.
What? Yes.
Okay. Seamus will be back, I promise. And I zip over to that guy.
He looks at you through the bars. Appears to
Hello,
be
sir. My
human,
name is Pam.
pretty young.
Oh, wait.
It's alright.
What did you say?
He appears to be human, pretty young, dark hair in front of the face, pale.
Okay. Hello, sir. I feel like I recognize you somehow. But that's probably just schemas.
I got one of those faces.
Okay. Who are you?
Who do you think I am?
I'm just wondering why you're in this cage.
Just trying to be free. Always end up in a cage when you're trying to be free.
Okay, I don't have time for this, quite frankly. Can you just be a little bit more direct? And less esoteric?
He pushes some of the hair back out of his face. Roll a persuasion check.
Nice.
He's just gonna tell me his life story.
I mean, my name is Rio.
Rio. I'm Pam.
Hi, Pam. Nice to meet you. I am the necessary scourge on the city of Portwind to bring it out to a new golden age. And isn't that what Portwind always wants? A golden age.
So what do you want to do with Portland? You want to blow it up? You want to...
Of course not. Just want to get rid of the people who don't have any use being there. Useless
Specific
ones.
people?
The ones who don't know where to join. The ones who don't know how it works. The ones who can't see the changes coming.
Can you give me names?
Of the ones I've already gotten, or the ones I've got to get still? Are you gonna do it for me, Pam?
Maybe.
You seem like the type. I like your horns.
You don't know anything about me.
I know, that's why I complimented the thing I could see.
And yet the thing you can see somehow says something about my entire self.
I don't got many options. I'm in a cage. You said you're busy.
Tell me who already you've gotten.
You got a natural 20 on your persuasion check.
Yeah.
Couple of guys looking to stir up trouble. Didn't want to join a guild, but kept records of people who did. There was a new one recently, a sweet little redhead in that little shop over there. And then, who else? Oh, there was so much of a, You know, I think the one I missed out on was that little halfway house lady. What was her name? Bushy hair. Tries to keep people protected from the ungilded. She just collects them all into a nice little pot for me, doesn't she? So sweet of her.
What are you trying to do?
I thought you were listening. I want to return Portwind to a golden age.
You're talking about the Guild of Nameless Entities. Nameless entities.
See, he thought it was such a clever name. I thought it was so stupid.
You thought that was stupid?
Yeah. Don't you?
Who else?
It spells gone.
Who else?
Who else what, Pam?
Who else are you targeting?
People who get in our way. The list grows, the list shrinks. I do what I'm told.
Who's he?
I don't know why I'm telling you this. You don't even let me compliment your horns. I was gonna say maybe it's because I like your face, but I feel like that would just get you mad too.
I just smile.
Ephraim. Ephraim Brahm. One of the few people in the city who's actually got a family name.
Does he want what you want?
Says he does. Pulling a lot of people's pretty little puppet strings to get it, too. Oh, I know. I know why I like you, Pam.
Why, Rio? Please tell me.
Do you have a sister? Is she blue? Does she know this? I gotta say, you're prettier on the eyes, but I knew it was something. And then he just smiles.
What do you know about her?
That she is an instrument in this great orchestra of ours. She comes from somewhere far, far away.
Where?
I don't know.
What are you guys gonna do with the refresh?
Us. We were just gonna wait for the fallout. People running the refresh don't need more help screwing things up. It's a decent opportunity for a thing or two, but he shrugs. I may have gotten a bit enthusiastic and got cut out of the plans before those started to be made. Can't blame me. I just want to keep doing good work.
What put you here right now in this cage, talking to me?
Suppose I did. Started to get a bit ahead of myself. Taking other people's assignments. No. Don't do that, they said. Well, I am the best at what I do.
What do you do?
I'm what Doc's Maze should have been. Trimming the fat. Got selfish. I wanted it all for me.
So how are you related to the sheriff?
What?
So how are you related to the sheriff?
You mean Bruno? He ain't no sheriff. He's just a sucker that got to run the dungeons, old turncoat. Doesn't even stand by his own brothers. Thinks he can be redeemed. Can't change a bastard. I'd rather be better at what I am than try to change it.
Where's Ephraim?
Ephraim is in the highest tower, locked into the highest room behind all the best defenses who don't even know what he wants.
Is he just gonna leave you here to die?
There are other hands. Plus, I don't really think I'll die. I'll figure something out. Gotta see your pretty face again, don't I?
Yeah. You really do.
You should check out her tail. Let's go. I think we're done.
Can I make one last perception check of him or insight check? I'll do
Sure.
insight.
Yeah, go for it. Go do the insight. He means what he says, and he enjoys playing with you. Alright, you have talked to your last person. You float down from where you were talking amongst the cages with protests from Seamus.
Real quick,
Yes.
do I notice anything like, I guess, unique to him? Like anything on him? Any kind of object? Anything that he's wearing? Does anything stand out?
His clothes are dark, ragged from being in a cage. His hair is unkempt. He looks super young. He looks so young. He's like 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until next time, Rio.
He just smiles as you go down. Alright. So you guys descend back to the ground, and
What's Leo's last name?
Rio, and he doesn't have one.
Yeah, I think you said Can you type in Ephraim Brum, you said? He mentioned that Ephraim was one of the only ones with a surname. Let's see. Yes.
Alright. So you two descend from having your conversation, and then Ashoka? Are you at all willing to be found, or are you just gone?
Ashoka.
Ashoka. Sorry, that sounded creepier than I meant it to. I don't know. After doing that creep voice guy. Ashoka. All right. Vincent,
Yes.
make me a wisdom check as you're reading your book.
Okay. Oops, sorry. It's so hard to click wisdom for some reason. There we go.
Okay. So.
Also, as just like occasionally looking at my book, I also kind of like look up at the people, and then I kind of like pull out the good berries that Nomi had gave me to, and I just kind of like look at them in the moonlight or whatever the case may be.
Okay. So there in the moonlight, as you're reading your book, you make your wisdom check. You're starting to get through some of the kind of denser academia of it. It seems to be talking about magic. It's talking about forbidden magics. It's talking about changing one thing into another. It's talking about the sacrifices it takes to do that. It's talking about the possibilities of different substances. And as you are reading this, and if you like have the good berries in one hand, kind of holding the side of the book in both hands, you pull the good berries away after a second, and a couple of them have like black spots.
Ew.
And as you touch the black spots, they kind of flake away. Ashoka. Are you
Yes?
are you at all willing to be found, or are you just gone to where you told me you went?
I'm still there.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm still there. I'm not really wanting to be found.
Okay. Would you care to make a wisdom check?
Sure.
Alright, so what else comes with this wisdom check that you could take, Vincent, is that Ashoka has just decided to disappear again. He will return at some point, and you know this because he somehow always does. But right now, whatever part of him that was honest that got pulled open by being Old Man Ashoka, whether it was a part of Ashoka or a part of Victor, you don't know, but he just needs some alone time. So you figure it's probably best to go back with your friends. And Ashoka, as you are kind of where you are, just kind of floating, you, along with the kind of settling in your gut, a few minutes later, without realizing quite why, there's another brief, like a pulse of that same feeling, just the barest flutter, much, much less, but still something similar. And then, Vincent, you head back to your friends. You're able easily enough to follow back. It was just around the bend. Yes, do you want to do anything
I
else?
want to investigate they're like the old people or whatever they are in the trees. I want to try to get closer to them before I leave.
Okay. You can get to the very bottom of the tree and they still don't notice anything or do anything to you.
Okay, I'll try to climb the tree.
Make an athletics check. Are you trying to be stealthy?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. You climb that tree. So good. You do such a good climbing of that tree.
Yes. Ultimate climber. Do they notice me at that point?
They either don't or are willfully ignoring you.
Let's see. Sorry, my dad's right outside my door.
It's alright.
Let's see. I'll try to, I don't know. Can I make some kind of check to see whether they're ignoring me intentionally or just...
Make an insight check. You just kind of see what's up with them?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. They are so deep into their meditative state that they do not perceive you. But at the same time, you feel a weird compulsion in your stomach if you try to get closer that, like, no, this is not consecrated, it's not, like, holy, it's just a bubble of space around them that exists that feels like it wholly belongs to them, and there's something that feels almost kind of like it makes you sick if you think about crossing it.
Okay. I want to draw them, and then I'll leave.
Okay, make a quick check with your cartographer's tools. That should be fine. You make a lovely drawing of the three of them locked in their meditative trance at the top of this tree.
Sweet.
So, Vincent, you finished your sketch. You descend the tree carefully, return to your friends. At this time, Darius and Pam, you've descended as well. And the rest of the group there, Thega, Sykes, and the other one whose name I forget right now, who's British.
Errol?
Pardon?
Yeah.
Errol, yeah. Collect you. And they kind of look at each other and sigh and say, well, if you really want to be on our side or understand where we come from, we have to show you the greatest tragedy that has ever happened to the wilds. This is sacred information, and what you do and say here will determine really, really how much we can trust you. Do you understand?
I understand.
Yes.
Is there anything any of you would wish to attend to before we do this?
Can we sleep?
Yes, do we have to do this right now, or can we sleep till the morning?
Well, what exactly is it we're doing? Are we just looking at something?
Yes.
How far away is it?
A slight distance, not too far. We'll be going back the way that we came, partially.
All right. Let's book it.
Okay, I want all of you, before we go, I want you all to make general charisma checks once more. This matters.
Oh no. I'm gonna use my swapping
Do it.
stat
Go
swapping
for it.
thing.
This is
So
important.
I'm just gonna roll with strength.
Yep.
Because that's easier.
Okay.
Oh, I needed it, I guess.
Yeah.
Darius, and then Ashoka, are you there to... You're not part of this.
He's off.
I can if you want.
Just in general, roll a charisma check.
Wow, you guys both got 11.
Yeah.
It still matters what they... Yep.
Wow, okay, good thing you're not there.
No.
You feel like a fish bite your ankle. All right. With this being said, I think the other aspect of this area probably won't come to fruition, which is good for you guys. But they lead you another decent ways away. This time with, I just forgot my own guy's name again. Please help me.
Errol?
Errol, like Errol Flynn, but spelled different. Errol leads you to this last destination, and it is, thank you so much, and it is the quietest part of the night, as described by the puzzle itself in the bottom of Melora's temple. As you reach a part of the forest that withers and leans in on itself, that goes from dropped leaves of semi-natural oranges and browns to confusing and discerning pale witheredness and too dark fallings off like ash, and you go in and in and in further, and part of this, it doesn't stink, it almost smells kind of sickly sweet, almost too much, and you keep going, and you find yourselves surrounded by a very, very large bandstand constructed around what you can, even from here, see was the base of a tree 150 feet in radius, standing back from it, and a bandstand constructed all the way around it, and you recognize it from the etchings on the wall. Yes, radius. Yes, radius. That means 300 feet in diameter, buddy. So, and Darius, you recognize it from being able to see through the eye of Arathis herself when they constructed it, and kind of flashes back to you as you see that. And they're just all kind of silent and a kind of mournfulness and you can look and see as you move kind of through and past it. The tree itself, you can almost see it happening as it had been kind of taking out a large portion of the forest behind it that its other boughs had grown out into, and deconstructing a large portion of this bandstand. Around it now, there grows a kind of you can hear Thega almost saying something like a prayer, and then you look over and you realize it's a spell, some kind of a bubble that's protecting you from whatever these flowers are. And you look down and you see that it's kind of rotted flowers, blooms that make it seem like you're walking through a graveyard with kind of a mixture between a crunch and an awkward step. And you can see that they're the same flowers that had been brought to Melora's temple, the palm-sized sunset full of sky, just gray and withering. And you can see as you're walking through them, as they're touched, they release this kind of a dark spore. But because you have earned some of their trust, Thega has this protective kind of bubble around you all. And they don't even speak as this is happening until you get to the very edge of it, as you're about to walk back to where you came. And then Errol says, "It may have been just one tree falling in the forest so long ago, but since then, the rest of this, it wasn't like this to start. They're doing something else important. Something dark that goes against, either directly against Melora on purpose, against the wilds on purpose, or by accident, but either way, it's what they're doing. And this rot is spreading. It's spreading."
Do you know how to stop it?
No. That's why they need the wake-up call. That's why we need to end whatever part of Portwind it is that's doing this. I would like all of you to make wisdom checks as well. Oh, Pam.
Nice.
Darius, if you would. Alright, Pam.
Savior.
You are hit. This is something you have seen before. This rot. It is something you have seen and you know the others have seen, but they can't seem to remember it at the moment. In the nest, so many, what feels like lifetimes ago now, there was a farm. And that farm had some of its crop rotted away, and it looked like this. The flowers are different, the place is different, the soil is different, the sky is the same but in a different place. But this feels very much the same. And along with that wisdom check, you realize that the sickly sweet smell that you're smelling, the kind of necrotic energy that you're feeling around you, that you know is protected by Thega, who is shaking slightly, holding this up. It smells like whatever that room was.
Yeah.
And almost like just a pulse of memory at the back of your head. Not aggressive, just that same old man's voice from when you had fallen on your behind in the back room of the clockmaker's shop. Just like a reminder of north of city center. Where they are. Just a reminder of something you already knew. And with this experience done, they lead you back to, would you prefer to sleep at the war camp or the peaceful encampment?
The peaceful encampment.
Yes.
With this in mind, they lead you back to the peaceful encampment. Thega, very thankful to be away from this space, this kind of cursed space that even just walking through it kind of makes a part of you ache, and you're not even from here, so you can't imagine what it's like for these people. And they lead you back to this peaceful place and set you up kind of on the edge of where you found that crystalline lake. And then Thega gives you all kind of a goodbye glance and just kind of says to you, Pamela, well, I trust that you won't let anything happen while you sleep, of course.
I trust you.
She kind of looks over her shoulder and then looks at the rest of your group and then leans close to you and says, don't tell the others, but I trust you too. Lucy backstory. And you all fall into a long night's rest. And
Wait, before we fall asleep, I want to ask Pam something.
okay.
Does she give us the word about the rot? She remembers the rot?
I probably will when we wake up.
Okay. So, with all this said and done,
I also tell everyone about Ashoka, just FYI.
understood.
Or what I found of it. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question real quick as players. Would you be willing to go over just a little bit for a little bit of a dream sequence thing, or should we start it with that next time?
Could we maybe start it next time?
Okay. In that case, you guys all drift off into sleep. Do any of you want to take watch, or do you just want to...
I'll take watch.
Okay. You guys drift off into sleep, taking turns taking watch, which we can roll for next time after the dream sequence thing. After understanding a little bit more about the Port Wind's counterpart in the wilds. And that is where we will end tonight's session. I hope you guys had fun.
We did a lot today.
Yeah. Not as much combat or action, but I think
a lot of story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A lot of good story. Oof.
All right, you guys. I hope you had fun. Looking forward to what's happening next week. I want to talk to you. I talked to Bosk a little bit before this about a certain someone who might be able to join us for the next 3 weeks, maybe.
Yes.
And next week's session, it might be useful. We'll see how it ends up going. If it could be a little bit longer, but I will talk to you guys.
Yeah, we'll see.
In any case, I love you all. I hope you had a good time. Would you like to say your very special sign-off?
I do.
Yes.
I would.
All right.
Let's see.
Who wants to count down?
Yep.
Vincent will.
Okay. I will count it down. In 3, 2, 1.
And that's just how we roll. Good night, everybody.
I had
We
to
love
take
you
a
all
breath in
very
between.
much.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
Stick with us, kids. Stick with us. Yeah.